Chapter 1407. I'm not willing. This girl was wearing a yellow dress, and the 2 strands of hair beside her head wobbled with her, making her look very cute. She was indeed extremely beautiful, but she was very delicate. Although she still had a childish gaze in her eyes, one could see her gentle nature underneath. As the girl walked toward the mountain, she pouted and muttered to herself, "Alchemy is too difficult. Even though I am always being very attentive, I can never succeed. I wonder how brother is doing. His talent is better than mine, and he is being focused on by the sect. I have to work hard so he doesn't look down upon me." As the girl walked, she stopped and looked at a blade of grass that was giving off a soft moonlight. She quickly walked up and gently picked a few leaves. She didn't realize that a lonely figure had unknowingly appeared behind her. Wang Lin stared at the girl before him. Although she looked different from how he knew her, he still recognized her at a glance. A hint of tenderness gradually appeared in his eyes. As Wang Lin stood there, bitterness filled his heart. After the girl picked up a few leaves of watermoon grass, she carefully put them into her bag of holding. When she was about to leave, she suddenly stopped and walked a few steps forward. She crouched down to push away some grass to find a small beast. The small beast looked like a squirrel, and it seemed like it was dying. There was blood on its right leg. It looked like it had been bitten, and it was broken. The girl exhaled and revealed a look of pity. She took out some herbs and crushed them before gently applying them to the little beast's wound. However, these herbs were apparently not enough to allow the small beast to live. Its gaze dimmed as it had lost too much blood and was on the verge of death. The girl became anxious. She gently picked up the small beast and turned around to go back to the alchemy room to find her master. However, just as she turned around, she screamed and quickly retreated, panic appearing in her eyes. When she suddenly turned around, she naturally saw Wang Lin and was startled for a moment. Seeing the girl's frightened expression, Wang Lin's heart trembled, and he gently said, "Let me." He waved his hand, and a ray of white light shot toward the small beast in the girl's arms. The small beast's wound recovered before her eyes, and even its dimmed eyes regained life. The little beast that had recovered jumped out from the girl's arms. After landing on a branch, it looked back at the 2 of them and disappeared. The girl took a deep breath and patted her chest. She looked curiously at Wang Lin and softly said, "Junior Li Muwan greets Senior. Which peak did Senior come from to find my master?" Wang Lin shook his head. His gaze became even more gentle and he said, "I didn't come here looking for your master. I live here." "Live here?" Li Muwan blinked. Wang Lin smiled as he waved his sleeve and a gentle wind wrapped around Li Muwan. In an instant, the 2 of them disappeared. When they reappeared, they were at the peak of a mountain surrounded by clouds. A cave had unknowingly appeared here. Li Muwan's eyes widened as she looked at the cave, and she took a long time to recover. She then looked at Wang Lin, her eyes filled with wonder. "Senior must be an old monster of my Luo sector. Not old monster, but hidden expert." Li Muwan smiled as she retreated a few steps. There was a hint of caution in her eyes. There was no one here, and she was suddenly brought here by Wang Lin, so she was naturally nervous. Although Wang Lin didn't look evil, Li Muwan's heart still pounded. Junior came here under teacher's order to pick some herbs. I have been out for a long time. Teacher might get worried about me and come to find me. Junior should leave now. Li Muwan continued to retreat, and her words pointed out the fact that her teacher could come at any time. Wang Lin smiled. He had never seen such an expression from Li Muwan before. He nodded. Li Muwan quickly retreated and climbed down the mountain. It wasn't until she was off the mountain that she relaxed and looked back at the mountain peak. Senior sister had said that all these old monsters have quirks and some like to cultivate with cultivation furnaces. "He scared me to death." That old monster silently appeared and took me to the top of the mountain. Ooh. Da hadn't reacted quickly and brought up teacher. I might have been in danger, however. That old monster looked very young and didn't seem like a bad person. Maybe I am overthinking it. After muttering to herself for a bit, Li Muwan quickly left. As Wang Lin stood on the mountain peak, his gaze could penetrate anything. He saw Li Muwan's expression, and he could even clearly hear her words. It wasn't until Li Muwan had left that Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. There was a hint of joy in his eyes, but this was accompanied by melancholy. Is this place really formed by my soul or real? This place clearly doesn't exist in my memory. Wang Lin let out a sigh and no longer thought about this. He closed his eyes. After a long time, he opened his eyes and whispered to himself, I'm going to take another look and talk to her once more. Then I'll leave and ignite the first incense stick. Time slowly passed. 1 day, 2 days in the blink of an eye, 4 days passed. During these 4 days, Li Muwan didn't appear again. Wang Lin stayed on the top of the mountain waiting, just like how Li Muwan waited for his return, accompanied only by the zither music. Wang Lin didn't cultivate during these 4 days but stared at the sky as he waited. It wasn't until the afternoon of the 5th day that he heard a sound coming from the base of the mountain. Li Muwan quickly ascended up the mountain. She wiped the sweat off her forehead, and there was still fear and caution in her eyes. However, she clenched her teeth and walked toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin calmly looked at Li Muwan and revealed a gentle expression. However, in Li Muwan's eyes, this gentleness made her subconsciously retreated a few steps, and she became even more cautious. Senior, can you save it? Li Muwan bit her lower lip and carefully took out a small beast the size of her palm. This small beast was like a cat, and it was still a child. It was trembling in Li Muwan's hands, and his eyes were only opened a sliver. It seemed to want to open its eyes, but it had no strength. Wang Lin laughed and nodded. He raised his right hand and touched the small beast. A white light flashed, and vitality entered the small beast. Its eyes slowly opened and were filled with energy. Li Muwan was surprised and gently stroked the small beast's fur. She looked at Wang Lin, and her caution gradually dissipated, but some still remained. Many thanks, Senior. Li Muwan's face was filled with joy, and she bowed at Wang Lin. She quickly retreated down the mountain. It was obvious she was still on guard toward an old monster. If not for it being a last resort, she would not have come here. After Li Muwan descended from the mountain, she looked back and muttered to herself, that old monster probably isn't a bad person. This was the second time Wang Lin had sent Li Muwan off, but the reluctance in his eyes became even stronger. Just at this moment, the entire sky began to rumble and change colors. The clouds rumbled and a giant vortex appeared. This vortex rotated rapidly, stirring up the world and giving off an unimaginable sense of majesty. This pressure was extremely shocking, and when it spread out, it covered the entire human trial. Strangely, nothing else in the world was aware of it at all. It was as if the world had changed just for Wang Lin, as if the vortex had appeared just for Wang Lin. Wang Lin, why don't you quickly ignite the human incense stick? What are you waiting for? These words formed a storm and echoed across the world. On the great emperor planet, the old vermilion bird was worried that Wang Lin's soul was trapped inside and he couldn't pull himself out. He disregarded the rule of the trial and pressed his hand against the first incense stick. His soul rushed into Wang Lin's soul and let out a roar. It isn't difficult to ignite the human incense stick. As long as I ignite the fire in my soul and burn this illusory world until nothing remains, the human incense stick will be ignited. However, I am unwilling. Wang Lin raised his head. There was fire burning in his eyes as he looked at the vortex in the sky. To enter this place as a soul, to hone the soul, to erase the last hint of returning back to immortal. Turn it into a burning force and cause the soul to born. This will be integrated into the soul to become a seed that will allow the vermilion bird to awaken a 4th time. However, burning my feelings as a mortal as the price is something I can do. Wang Lin looked up at the sky. This was the land of his soul. Although the old vermilion bird was powerful, this trial ground created by a mysterious treasure was filled with a mysterious power that made it so he couldn't be here for long. This is only an illusion, it's not real. This old man has also come here before. You just need to destroy it and ignite the incense stick to leave. Why must you be so obsessive? The old vermilion bird's voice was anxious, and the vortex in the sky collapsed as his voice gradually dissipated. The moment his voice dissipated, Wang Lin's voice entered the vortex. In my whole life, I never gave up the lingering feelings in my heart. At the ascendant stage, I chose to trigger divine retribution over giving it up. Burning this world isn't the only way to create the immortal fire seed in my soul. If the heavens will this and I must burn this world, then I'll defy the heavens. I'll take my own path, and instead of burning this world, I'll use my soul to create the fire of karma. On the great emperor planet, the old vermilion bird withdrew his hand. He looked at Wang Lin and let out a sigh. Although Master Simo didn't know what was going on inside the human trial, He seemed to have noticed a few things. He couldn't help but sneer. "Senior, it has been a long time." It seems the third young emperor had encountered an accident in the trial. Before he finished speaking, the old vermilion bird suddenly turned around and waved his hand. He slapped Master Simo once more. Master Simo coughed out blood, and his body was knocked back 100,000 feet. What accident? This old man S. Jr. is going to use his karma to burn this incense stick. It is not something a bastard like you can understand. After finishing the slap, the old vermilion bird's anger lessened and he thought, karma, good. This kid has guts to light the fire of karma. The first ancestor once said that using the immortal soul fire to reach ethereal fire is not the proper method, but only because igniting the fire of karma is extremely difficult. The ancestor only succeeded thanks to the help of the celestial emperor, which why he never gave anyone else the choice. If this child can succeed, he will be the first after the first ancestor. It's time to double the likes for the video, wishing for more likes for the video. Chapter 1408. Karma Fire Rise in the Soul. Inside the human trial, the vortex only Wang Lin could see collapsed as if an invisible force had torn it apart. The sky gradually returned to normal. No one else inside the human trial noticed this beside Wang Lin. It was as if none of it had happened at all. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the sky and sat down at the top of the mountain. To ignite the fire of karma, to create a fire with one's thought, not to burn this world, but burn one's own soul. Using this dangerous method at the moment the soul was about to be destroyed to find path to survival and create the fire of karma. This will give the vermilion bird a chance to awaken a fourth time, breaking through to the realm of ethereal fire that was extremely rare for the members of the vermilion bird clan to enter. Ethereal fire, the source of all fire in the world. Whether it was the fire of jealousy, anger, madness, and such emotions, they could all be used by the people who had stepped into the realm of ethereal fire. Cultivators who could reach ethereal fire were very powerful. Even if they weren't as powerful as a third-step cultivator, even third-step cultivators had to beware. When facing such a cultivator, you couldn't show any emotion, because even the smallest emotional fluctuation could be used by the enemy as a method to kill you. This was a very terrifying spell. It has to be said that all living beings have emotions. No matter how indifferent a person is or how well they can hide their emotions, emotions still exist within them. Even Tao Master Blue Dream's longing for his wife and daughter could become fuel for ethereal fire. Only those who could perfectly block all emotions or completely remove them could afford not to fear ethereal fire. The true terror of an ethereal fire cultivator wasn't seen in individual battles, but in group battles. And ethereal fire cultivators could contest against thousands. Third-step cultivators knew that breaking the void gate as a thunder cultivator was extremely difficult. Thunder was something controlled by the heavens, so attempting to break the void gate with it was even more difficult. Fire essence was part of the 5 elements. Only by becoming ethereal fire could it break free from the 5 elements. If it can evolve further into Tao fire, then one can use it to burn down the void gate to become a third-step cultivator. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. Ethereal fire was difficult to obtain because of the fire seed required for the vermilion bird's fourth awakening. However, he wasn't willing to burn this world, so he had to choose the more difficult road. This path was a walk between life and death. Wang Lin could still choose to leave this place and fail the trial. The old vermilion bird treated me so well, so how can I give up so easily? Wang Lin murmured, and determination filled his eyes. Just like how he was unwilling to burn this world, Wang Lin cared a lot about his benefactor. He couldn't disappoint the old vermilion bird. Wang Lin took a deep breath and closed his eyes. As he closed his eyes, a blue flame erupted from his body. The flame didn't spread but burned inside his body. Outsiders couldn't see the flame, but the pain of his soul burning caused even Wang Lin to tremble. He clenched his teeth and endured his soul and obsession burning until he destroyed himself. I will enter the Tao with this obsession, and not even divine retribution will stop me. Wang Lin suddenly raised his head and his eyes opened. The flame burned brightly in his body, but no one outside could see it. Time slowly passed inside the human trial. The frequency of Li Muan's visits to the top of mountain had gradually increased. Every time Wang Lin saw her, the burning in his soul became stronger, but he didn't reveal any of it. The gentleness in his eyes was deep like a lake. Li Muwan gradually became used to Wang Lin's expression. Sometimes, when she came up the mountain, she would curiously chat with Wang Lin. However, the very attentive Li Muwan slowly noticed that each time she came up here, the strange senior seemed a bit weaker. And even his appearance seemed to grow old. She didn't know that Wang Lin was currently suffering indescribable pain. He wanted to ignite the fire of karma, and he was using the obsession in his heart as the fuel. The stronger his obsession, the stronger the fire was. Every time he saw Li Muwan, his obsession became even stronger. The fire would become more intense and the pain would intensify. Time passed. After an unknown amount of time, the fire inside Wang Lin's soul had reached a certain degree. His eyes had become unfocused and his body weak. His face had aged from a young man to a middle-aged man. It was as if 2,000 years of time had quickly descended on Wang Lin as his soul burned. Give up, you can withstand the burning of your soul. Although this old man hasn't experienced it, from what I heard from the ancestor, I could tell that he still dreads that feeling. The collapsed vortex appeared once more in the sky. The old vermilion bird came once more because he was worried. His words were filled with worry. Wang Lin clenched his teeth, and his mind was already unclear. The intense pain was like a tide that almost drowned him. This kind of pain was several times stronger than anything Wang Lin had encountered before. Only when he faced the ancient god Calamity, where his body continued to collapse and reform, did he experience comparable pain. However, there was still a big difference between these two types of pain. You were still burning your soul, but your obsession hasn't transformed into the fire of karma. This degree of pain is only the beginning. Once the fire of karma has appeared, you will go through the 9 karma retributions. Even the ancestor could only pass it under someone else's protection. You can still give up now. Once your obsession turns into the fire of karma, it will destroy your soul in a flash. There will be no chance for you to turn it into karmic fire. If it wasn't for the protection of the celestial emperor, the ancestor wouldn't have succeeded. The old vermilion bird's voice was filled with worry. That little girl is the obsession in your heart in this human trial. Everything is only an illusion. Why are you putting yourself in such a life and death situation for an illusion? Wang Lin, why are you so obsessive? The old vermilion bird's voice became even more anxious, and there was a tone of harshness in his voice. Wang Lin didn't answer. At this moment, his mind was a blur. The pain turned into memories that flashed across his soul. His first encounter with Li Muwan, the Sea of Devils, the cloud sky, sector death, until she became a sleeping corpse in the coffin. All of these memories burned in his soul. It has been a long time. If you continue, there will be life-threatening danger. Since you are unwilling to cut yourself off from this world, then even if you end up hating this old man, I'll destroy this world for you. As the old vermilion bird's words echoed, a sea of fire suddenly appeared from the vortex. The fire spread in all directions, and in the blink of an eye, it surrounded the world. It was about to descend and burn everything. At this moment, Li Muwan appeared on the top of the mountain. She was gasping for breath and had just reached the top of the mountain. She couldn't see the fire, but in Wang Lin's blurry vision, he could see the sea of fire attempting to devour Li Muwan like a big mouth. At this instant, Wang Lin's eyes became clear and a monstrous fire appeared in his eyes. The moment the fire was about to touch Li Muwan, Wang Lin hugged her and used his back to block that sea of fire. Li Muwan was startled. As Wang Lin hugged her, he turned around and let out a roar at the sky. I can do it. You! The old vermilion bird was extremely angry. The fire he had sent from the sky was stopped. Ancestor, I have cultivated for my entire life only for her. Even if it is only an illusion, this junior is unwilling to hurt her, much less destroy her. Wang Lin looked at the sky with tears flowing down his cheeks, landing on the Li Muwan in his arms. The hot tears seemed to enter her heart, and her eyes became filled with confusion. The moment Wang Lin said these words, the fire in his soul erupted, becoming several times stronger than before. There was a strand of black fire inside this fire. This black fire caused the world to change colors and completely suppressed the blue fire inside Wang Lin's soul. Fire of karma. The old vermilion bird gasped and let out a sigh. Now that your obsession has turned into fire of karma, aside from the first-generation ancestor, no one can stop you. Forget it since you chose it. Forget it. The old vermilion bird's voice gradually dissipated. The sea of fire disappeared, and the vortex collapsed. The black fire instantly filled Wang Lin's body and took over the blue fire. In an instant, more than 80% of the blue fire had turned black. Intense pain came from his soul, causing his body to tremble. The pain became thousands of times more intense than before. His soul was being rapidly destroyed. His body rapidly dissipated, but his arms still held Li Muwan. He did his best to hide the intense pain, and he gently looked at Li Muwan. Wang Lin looked at Li Muwan and softly said, "To have you accompany me for these days, I am very happy even though you re only an illusion, I won't allow anyone to hurt you." However, his voice contained a force that shocked Li Muwan's mind. "You who are you?" Li Muwan stared at Wang Lin. As usual, 2 chapters at noon, about 10 minutes apart, and 2 more at 8 in the evening, 10 minutes apart. If anything comes up, the other will be informed. Longing for the like button for the video. Chapter: Fragrant blue signal smoke burns. The her in the past was like a butterfly that had turned into a soul inside Wang Lin's hands. He tried to hold on, but he grasped only empty air as her soul floated into the sky from his arms. The past her eyes were filled with sentiment and tenderness as she slowly aged. An entire lifetime passed and her hair turned white and she passed away. She closed her eyes and this became a scene Wang Lin could never forget in his life. She raised her right hand to touch Wang Lin's face one last time, but she lost all strength midway and her hand fell down. The tears that fell from her eyes fell on the ground and turned into a flower that may or may not bloom in the next season. In the blink of an eye, thousands of years passed. The past was like a fleeting moment. Thousands of years couldn't be considered long, but it was enough to forget everything. However, Wang Lin couldn't forget this, and had always remembered. Now, it was as if time had reversed, and Wang Lin was holding the person he wasn't willing to give up. However, because Li Muwan had turned into a soul fragment back then, he couldn't grasp anything. Now, although Li Muwan was an illusion, she was so real to Wang Lin that he felt like he was holding the world, except now he didn't have the strength. He didn't have the body to continue holding her. His hands gradually dissipated as the black fire burned and turned transparent. His hands passed through Li Muwan's body and dissipated. His face rapidly changed from middle-aged. It was as if years had quickly passed and he had turned into an old man. Then he became transparent. It was as if the past had repeated itself, only their positions had changed. The only thing that didn't change was the gentleness in his eyes as his body dissipated. The black fire finally took over the blue fire, and Wang Lin dissipated completely from the world. The gaze under the black fire moved further and further away from Li Muwan. Li Muwan's body slumped to the ground as she looked at the seemingly eternal gaze in the sky, her mind trembling. Li Muwan struggled to roar, "Who the hell are you?" There was an unknown pain in her heart. She didn't know where this pain came from, but it became stronger and stronger. The fire of karma ignited and destroyed everything, but it couldn't destroy Wang Lin's heart and his memories. The fire of karma is formed by my obsession. I have used my obsession to cultivate, and I have cultivated for my entire life for her. The heavens are heartless and want to erase all obsession. However, my obsession has already turned into the fire of karma, and not even the heavens can take it away. If this fire of karma wants to burn my body, if this fire of karma wants to destroy me, I want to stop it. This fire is the obsession of my life. This is my Tao. What is the point of cultivating the heartless Tao of the heavens? I have cultivated with my obsession, and use this obsession to form the cycle of karma. So what if I don't go to heaven? So what if I go to hell? As long as hell is free, what's so bad about it? Just as the fire of karma was going to destroy him, a shocking vermilion bird cry echoed. A vermilion bird appeared inside the black fire. The vermilion bird was large, and it was no longer blue but black. It was like a black phoenix being reborn inside the black fire. The cry of the vermilion bird echoed across the entire world. It penetrated the human trial and spread out from the incense stick on the back of the tortoise. It shook the entire great emperor planet. The handsome young man had already waited for several days, but he hadn't become impatient at all. He had just taken out another peach and was about to eat it when his body trembled. He stared at the first incense stick. The cry of the vermilion bird echoed across the world. Tao Master Blue Dream's eyes shone a strange light, and there was also a hint of shock in them. The cry of a vermilion bird. This is not an ordinary vermilion bird, this is. The cry of this vermilion bird was indeed not ordinary. It contained a powerful defying nature that would never yield. It seemed like it had come from hell, rather than the heavens. Impossible! Grandmaster Yun Luo foresaw that that little bastard would face a life-and-death trial that would be extremely difficult to pass. Master Simo's expression changed greatly as he stared at the first incense stick. Grandmaster Yun Luo also revealed an expression of shock on her pretty face. Her right hand hidden under her sleeve moved even faster, forming afterimages. However, her fingers trembled and her fingertips tore open, and blood flew out. It was as if a force had stopped her divination, or Wang Lin's current situation was outside of her power to divinate. The old vermilion bird revealed a hint of excitement and let out a laugh. His eyes lit up. As the second-generation vermilion bird, he understood the cry of the vermilion bird extremely well. Just by hearing it, he could understand what had happened inside the human trial. Good boy, he was able to reform his vermilion bird under the fire of karma. After this comes the 9 karma retributions. This is the most difficult part. Only the old man sitting on the lizard still had his closed as if none of this could catch his attention. The woman beside Tao Master Blue Dream was staring at the first incense stick. She was biting her lower lip, and tears filled with complicated feelings were falling. Inside the human trial, the black vermilion bird opened its wings and flew up into the sky. Its body was covered in endless black flames, and emitted an unimaginably high temperature. However, this temperature didn't affect this world at all and was condensed on the vermilion bird's body. The cry of the vermilion bird became even louder, and it contained a fluctuation that could shock one's mind. The black vermilion bird was formed by Wang Lin's soul. The fire of karma has ignited and will burn the cycle of karma. Help my vermilion bird awaken a 4th time. The black vermilion bird hissed and charged at the sky. When it reached the top, black fire erupted from its body. From a distance, this fire looked like a giant torch, and the heart of the fire was the dancing vermilion bird. With my obsession fire, Wang Lin's voice echoed across the world. The fire around Wang Lin turned into a sea of flames and spread with the vermilion bird as the center. In the blink of an eye, the entire sky was covered in this black fire, but no living thing in the human trial was able to feel it. This sea of fire that covered the sky became stronger and stronger. It was like a violent wave that swept across the sky. Human incense stick, ignite! Wang Lin's roar became the voice of the vermilion bird and spread across the sky. The sea of fire suddenly contracted toward Wang Lin and turned into a pillar of fire that shot into the sky. Wang Lin's soul reformed on top of the black vermilion bird inside the fire. He looked up at the sky and waved his hand. Rumble, 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 rumble. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the sky and turned into a force that wanted to rip the sky open. At this moment, strands of black smoke came from the first incense stick on the back of the giant tortoise. Ignited? The first incense stick has been ignited. Let's see how long he can last. The cultivators had waited for many days and were becoming impatient. If not for their fear of the young emperor, they would have already left. However, at this moment, they all looked at the black smoke that was rising up. At first, the black smoke was like silk, but soon increased like a signal fire. The high temperature began to spread, and the human incense burned brightly. The burning was extremely intense. From a distance, the fire was monstrous and was rapidly burning down the incense stick. Its speed was indescribable. In an instant, more than half of it was burned to ashes. Compared to the other 2 incense sticks, this scene was shocking. Just as the 10,000 cultivators thought the incense was going to burn completely, in a flash, the fire suddenly stopped. This pause seemed to fuse with the minds of all the surrounding cultivators, causing their hearts to tremble. Master Simo stared intently at the human incense stick. Grandmaster Yun Luo's face was a bit pale, and there was a hint of gloominess in her eyes. Inside the human trial, Wang Lin looked at the sky as he stood on the black vermilion bird. His body gave off endless black flames and he took a deep breath. He looked down at the gentle figure slumped on the ground on the mountain peak and softly whispered something. I'm Wang Lin. After he finished speaking his last words to Li Muwan, he suddenly raised his head. 9 karma retributions, come! The 9 karma retributions was the retribution of the fire of karma. The first generation vermilion bird had lost his life to this retribution. If not for the protection of the celestial emperor, he would have died. At this moment, Wang Lin was going to go through the 9 karma retributions as the 6th-generation vermilion bird, with no one protecting him. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and purple fire appeared in the world, with white and black above and below them. These 9 colors were the 9 retributions. It started with the black fire and ended with the black fire, forming a cycle. If he could pass them all, he could ignite the karmic fire, which would allow the vermilion bird to awaken a 4th time. His corporeal fire would enter the realm of ethereal fire. 9 karma retributions, descend! The black fire around Wang Lin seemed to be swept by a violent wind and suddenly changed to blood red. The blood red light seemed to dye the entire earth red. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and the endless red fire around Wang Lin charged toward him from all directions. On the great emperor planet, the first incense stick began to burn down once more after the pause. It had been exactly 1 breath of time since the incense stick had been ignited. Mid-month already, brothers. Do you have likes for the VIDE already? Don't hold back wishing for those likes. Chapter 1410 Shocking Change. The blood-red fire filled the sky of the human trial. It formed a powerful heat wave and surged at Wang Lin. The power inside this fire was enough to burn the heavens itself. Wang Lin was inside the fire and standing on top of the black vermilion bird. He could feel the temperature of the blood-red fire, and when the heat wave closed in, he felt the pain of being burned. The first of the 9 karma retributions was red. It represented all the slaughter Wang Lin had done for his obsession. This slaughter retribution surged and burned violently. The vermilion bird under Wang Lin let out miserable cries under the heat of this red fire. Even Wang Lin's recently reformed soul almost collapsed, and he was about to be burned alive. Although he had tried to predict the power of the 9 karma retributions, he didn't think the first retribution would already be so difficult to bear. Inside this red fire, just an instant feel like an eternity. The black vermilion bird couldn't bear it, and its body rapidly shrank. The black fire on its body rapidly turned red. If it turned completely red, the vermilion bird would become part of the first retribution. Its power would then increase, and it would devour Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a roar at the sky, and there was a hint of madness in his eyes. The first retribution was unexpectedly powerful, and he had found it difficult to resist. However, Wang Lin would never yield. He waved his arms and inhaled. First retribution, let's see if you will burn me alive or if I will devour you first. A sense of madness appeared within Wang Lin. The more dangerous it was, the more indomitable he became. At this moment, in just 1 breath, all the red fire rushed into his mouth and Wang Lin devoured it in an instant. All of this happened in an instant, and all the red fire had disappeared from the sky. However, it erupted inside his body, and he became like a blood person. The bloodlight pierced through his body as if it was trying to tear his body apart. This body was formed by Wang Lin's soul, and at this moment, the red fire was burning inside his soul. On the great emperor planet, the first incense stick on the giant tortoise burned like crazy. Before everyone's eyes, the black smoke coming from the first incense stick suddenly turned red. The red smoke was monstrous and lit up the entire planet. The surrounding cultivators all gasped and subconsciously wanted to retreat. Just at this moment, even more intense red light came from Wang Lin's body. The red light moved inside his body, creating extremely high temperature. At the same time, the burning of the first incense stick suddenly stopped for a moment. It was like a force had erupted from within, stopping it from burning. The old vermilion bird stared at the first incense stick with worry in his eyes. Inside the human trial, Wang Lin had devoured all the red fire. He felt like tens of thousands of bolts of thunder were exploding in his body at once. The intense pain made him feel like he was going to disintegrate. Wang Lin let out a roar and waved his hand. The half-red vermilion bird rushed toward Wang Lin, and they instantly fused into one. Wang Lin's expression was ferocious as he allowed the fire to burn inside his body. He endured the intense pain as he continued to refine the red fire. He was trying to make the red fire his own. Just at this moment, the sky changed, and an orange light appeared. When the orange light appeared, the second retribution descended. Wang Lin had no time to refine the fire he had consumed before the orange fire surrounded him and rushed at him. After the orange fire came a monstrous yellow light, followed by a giant wave of yellow fire. What was even more shocking was that behind the yellow fire was ghostly green light. It was like a barrier that created shocking green fire that rapidly closed in. 3 colors of fire had appeared at the same time. 3 of the retributions had appeared together. This was the true terror of the 9 karma retributions. It wasn't tea like the divine retribution, which gave you a glimmer of hope and had a break between each retribution. This was a destructive retribution, and it was going to kill once it appeared. The 3 retributions covered the sky of the human trial. The first incense stick outside reacted to reflect the situation. Orange, yellow, and green smoke surged on top of the incense stick. The first retribution hasn't passed yet, and the orange, yellow, and green retributions came at once. How is he supposed to pass this? The old vermilion bird's expression changed greatly. This was his first time seeing the 9 karma retributions, and he didn't expect it to be so fierce. Master Simo was the most happy about this. He revealed a vicious smile as he stared at the first incense stick and thought, although I don't know what's going on, it looks like it will be difficult for that little bastard to escape death. It's a pity I can find his secret, but it's good that he will die. Grandmaster Yun Luo also relaxed a bit. The injuries on her fingers had also healed. She looked at the first incense stick and thought, it looks like he isn't the person divined by the ancestor. Father Li Chiamei bit her lower lip and turned toward her father. There was still confusion in her eyes, but it was accompanied by pain and pleading. Tao Master Blue Dream let out a sigh and softly said, I will help him, you can rest assured. However, I feel like he will be able to pass this calamity. Inside the human trial, Wang Lin's body was still giving off a red glow, and his eyes contained a struggle against fate. 3 of the Nina retributions have appeared at once. Good, good, good. I want to see how these 3 retributions will destroy my soul. He didn't give in to the pain and laughed instead. He suppressed the pain in his body as he waved his arms and inhaled once more. I'll inhale all 4 of these fires into my soul. Either you all burn me to death or I devour you all. An unspeakable sense of pride, an unexplainable attitude toward life, an unrecordable sense of loftiness toward the heavens and heavenly Tao, and the unpaintable pursuit for a thought. All of these had fused together in Wang Lin's laugh to form a fate-defying sound. As his laugh echoed, 2,000 years of cultivation flashed across Wang Lin's eyes. As his memories clashed across his mind, his parents appeared in his heart. The bitterness of going back to his hometown, kneeling before the graves of his family members, the rainy night when his family was robbed from him. All these scenes flashed through his mind. As the memories resurfaced, the orange fire rushed into Wang Lin's body. It crossed paths with the red light. If the soul was filled with sorrow, one would think about one's home. If the soul returns to one's home, tears of sorrow would be shed before the grave. After the orange fire, the yellow light rushed in. It formed a seal of fire around the orange fire and burned Wang Lin's body like crazy. Time was ruthless, and the yearning for those that parted would become an eternal injury that would accompany you for a lifetime. Ghost-like green fire arrived and covered the entire sky green. The green fire was like a ghost, and it suddenly entered Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the flowing memories in his head stopped. The 4 kinds of fire burned like crazy, and a destructive force appeared. Wang Lin's refining speed couldn't compare to the 4 fires at all, and it seemed like he was about to be burned alive. Wang Lin raised his hand and waved it to open his storage space. The jug filled with dragon blood appeared in Wang Lin's hand. Just one mouthful of this dragon blood could cause the fire inside Wang Lin's body to increase in power greatly. At this moment, he didn't hesitate to laugh and drink from the jug. He drank the entire jug in one go, leaving not a single drop. He waved his right hand and threw the jug away. The fire inside Wang Lin's body surged. The hot dragon blood turned into a sea of fire and began battling the 4 colors inside his body. As he resisted, a vortex slowly appeared deep inside Wang Lin's soul. This vortex came from the heaven-defying bead that was gradually awakening. I have devoured all 4 of the retributions into my soul, so it has nothing to burn. Why hasn't the 5th retribution descended? The fire in his body had reached the limit. He let out a roar and rushed into the sky. The sky was like a barrier, and he quickly arrived at the end. Thunderous rumbles echoed as the sky collapsed. There was another land behind the crumbled sky. It was a land filled with endless souls. It was like the underworld. The 10,000 cultivators staring at the first incense stick had found that the fire on it had stopped completely. It remained motionless 100 feet above Wang Lin. Time slowly passed. One breath in a flash, more than 5 breaths had passed. The 4th generation vermilion bird had only lasted 5 breaths, but now Wang Lin had unexpectedly also lasted 5 breaths. 6 breaths. 7 breaths. The handsome young man's eyes narrowed and revealed a strange light. Just as the incense stick lasted 7 breaths, a wave of exclamations echoed. This wasn't just one person, but thousands of people. Soon the sound was heaven shaking. What caused them to exclaim wasn't the incense stick lasting 7 breaths, but the fire on the human incense stick had unexpectedly extinguished. The incense stick had been extinguished. This sudden scene caused an uproar. Even the old vermilion bird's eyes widened and filled with disbelief. This. Master Sima was startled for a moment, and shock filled his eyes. Grandmaster Yun Luo's expression changed greatly. She ignored the injuries on her fingers and tried to divinate once more. Mid-month and it's been forgotten. Hoping for the like button for the video, tears start to flow. Is there still time? Chapter 1411. Fourth Awakening. The human incense stick has been extinguished. This has never happened before. Even during my trial and the 4th generation S trial, the incense stick was never extinguished. The incense stick has actually gone out. The old vermilion bird's mind trembled as he looked at the extinguished human incense stick, and terror appeared in his eyes. The incense stick has been extinguished. How long did he last in the trial? 7 breaths, or infinite. What happened during the 3rd young emperor's trial to cause the incense stick to extinguish? This matter is too terrifying. It is unimaginable. Just as all the cultivators went in an uproar, an even more shocking thing happened. The 2nd incense stick that represented the earth incense stick suddenly ignited. No one had touched it, but smoke quickly appeared on top of the 2nd incense stick. Wang Lin had broken the sky of the human trial and had appeared in a boundless land. This land was covered in cracks, and there was a deep pit that led to the human trial. As Wang Lin rushed out of this pit, fire spread out from his body. The entire earth was lit up by this fire. At the edge of the land there was a barren mountain, and a person was sitting on top of the mountain. This person seemed middle-aged, and there was an illusory vermilion birthmark between his eyebrows. He was originally cultivating as if he hadn't moved for tens of thousands of years. However, at this moment he opened his eyes, and a strange light flashed by. The aura of a clan member. Just as Wang Lin appeared in the earth trial, endless fire appeared with him. Indigo light rushed out, and the world was covered in a sea of indigo fire. After the indigo fire was the blue fire. The 2 fires surged toward Wang Lin. Indigo originally came from blue, so the 2 fires entangled together. After them was a purple fire that covered the sky. It was like a demonic fire that stretched across the horizon. Indigo, blue, and purple fires all rushed toward him at once. Wang Lin's face was twisted and his soul was about to collapse. The 4 fires burned in his body, causing his eyes to turn cloudy. In an instant, the fire inside him penetrated his body and erupted outwards. The red, orange, yellow, and green fires had torn his body apart. Even the vermilion bird inside his body was burned to death. Wang Lin's soul collapsed. At the same time, the indigo, blue, and purple fires closed in on Wang Lin's collapsed soul. When the 7 colors gathered, it looked like a rainbow was burning the sky. The expression of the middle-aged man at the horizon changed. He waved his right hand, and the mark between his eyebrows flew out. It flew at an extremely fast speed toward the 7-colored fire. At the same time, Wang Lin's body on the great emperor planet was covered in a 7-colored light. Fine cracks appeared on his body and blood began to ooze out. It was a shocking scene. The old vermilion bird didn't hesitate to arrive next to the 2nd burning incense stick. He ignored the fact that it was rapidly burning and placed his right hand on it. His powerful divine sense rushed in. Tao Master Blue Dream also stepped forward and arrived next to the 2nd incense stick. Blue light covered his body and his finger landed on the 2nd incense stick. Inside the earth trial, the 7-colored fire raged. Not even the 1st generation vermilion bird was able to pass this trial without the protection of the celestial emperor. The retribution burned Wang Lin's soul. Just as his soul was dissipating, 3 forces came to his rescue. However, just as the 3 auras closed in, A strange force suddenly erupted from within the seven-colored fire. This strange force revealed an ancient aura, and it felt like it was the ancestor of all things. The moment the vermilion bird mark from the middle-aged man touched this strange force, it was bounced back thousands of kilometers. It was as if the power that had awakened one T allow anyone to approach it, or to be more accurate, no one was qualified to approach it. The middle-aged man's eyes narrowed, and he suddenly stood up. Horror quickly gathered in his eyes. What is this? The old vermilion bird's divine sense arrived, but the moment it touched the mysterious force, he was directly knocked out of the earth trial. Tao Master Blue Dream's divine sense followed, but the moment he touched the strange force, there were flashes of blue light, and he was also pushed out of the earth trial. On the great Emperor planet, the old vermilion bird's right hand was knocked up into the air. His eyes were filled with disbelief, and he subconsciously took a few steps back. What kind of power is that? Tao Master Blue Dream felt his finger go numb and retreated in shock. He knew a lot about Wang Lin, and he recognized the force that had terrified him. It was the heaven-defying bead. Tao Master Blue Dream didn't speak, and he silently returned to Li Qianmei's side. He will be fine. Master Simo watched all of this in shock. He had noticed that the two of them had gone in to save Wang Lin, but he never would have expected these two powerhouses to be knocked back. Grandmaster Yunluo's expression became even gloomier, and her hand moved even faster. She faintly felt like she was about to learn all the secrets that were happening inside. Tao Master Miao Yun stood up from the cloud, and his eyes flashed. What Taoist water said was correct. Inside the earth trial, the moment Wang Lin's soul had been burned, the heaven-defying bead appeared. Ever since the Lord of the Sealed Realm left it, the heaven-defying bead hadn't appeared. No matter how much Wang Lin searched for it, he couldn't find it. It was as if it had disappeared. However, at this moment, the heaven-defying bead had reappeared. The moment it appeared, the seven-colored fire trembled and began to rotate. It was inhaled by the strange force inside the heaven-defying bead and formed 7 eternal fire seeds. A bead the size of a baby's fist floated there, and 7 fire seeds floated around it. An illusory figure gradually formed and appeared in the world. The 7 eternal fire seeds were located in various parts of the body that was materializing. When he opened his eyes, the 7-colored fire erupted and surged across the world. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the sky in the distance. The entire world seemed to have lost all color beside the 7 colors around Wang Lin. Everything else had turned black and white. It was like a landscape painting, and this black and white gave off the feeling of endless desolation. The last retribution of the 9 karma retribution was descending. The white was the sky and the black was the earth. They formed 2 extreme fires and closed in on Wang Lin. It was as if the sky and earth were crushing down to destroy the 7-colored firestorm and Wang Lin, who was within it. It was too fast and closed in an instant. The white fire was hot and began burning the 7-colored storm. As the white integrated into the firestorm, another color was added. Wang Lin's expression was still calm as the 8-colored fire surrounded him. He watched the black fire close in. The 9 karma retributions began with black fire and ended with black fire, forming a cycle. As the black fire closed in, Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes. A thunderous rumble echoed as the black fire rushed in. This caused the 8-colored fire to reach the limit of a 9-colored fire. All 9 karma retributions had appeared, forming an earth-shattering storm. Wang Lin was at the center of the storm, and his hair was moving without any wind. Aside from the 7 different colored fires in his body, the black and white fire quickly condensed. The white fire was in his dantian, and the black fire was between his eyebrows. When the 2 fires completely formed, Wang Lin opened his eyes. The world rumbled. Ignite my karma cycle fire. As Wang Lin's voice echoed, the 9-colored fire around his body condensed toward his eyebrows and fused inside. It turned into a 9-colored fire lotus. The fire lotus had 9 petals of 9 different colors. At the moment it appeared, a 9-colored vermilion bird charged out from the lotus. The 9-colored vermilion bird seemed to have been reborn inside the lotus. It flew into the sky and let out a vermilion bird cry. The cry of the 4th awakening? On the great Emperor planet, the cry of awakening echoed. The earth incense stick had only burned halfway when it suddenly paused and gave off a 9-colored light that lit up the entire planet. The old vermilion bird was startled before letting out a loud laugh, and excitement filled his eyes. He actually passed the 9 karma retributions and ignited his karma cycle fire so his vermilion bird could go through its 4th awakening. The 4th awakening requires a large amount of fire. Whether he can completely awaken and reach the realm of ethereal fire will depend on this. As his elder, even if I have to cheat, I have to give him a hand. The old vermilion bird jumped into the air and disappeared before everyone. In just a moment, the roar of a dragon echoed in the distance. This roar was filled with anger and indignation. One could see a 100,000-foot-long dragon being brought over by the old vermilion bird. The surrounding cultivators were all gobsmacked as the old vermilion bird carried the struggling dragon above the incense stick. He waved his right hand, and a wound appeared on the scab on the dragon's head. Blood fell like a waterfall on the incense stick. Under this intense pain, water gathered in the fire dragon's eyes. It was filled with grievance and reluctance, and it began to struggle even more violently. With a bang, the old vermilion bird landed on the dragon. A surge of fire entered the dragon's body, causing even more blood to flow out. Damn it, you little dragon, Dante moved recklessly. If this kid awakens successfully, this old man will let you go free. When the fire dragon heard this, it showed a hint of hesitation, but soon it clenched its teeth and did its best to squeeze out more blood. Mid-month, and the hope for likes on the video has slipped by 2 days already? Tears streaming. Is there any hope left? Chapter 1412. 9 colors fuse into one. The 100,000-foot dragon naturally had a lot of blood in his body, but the blood the old vermilion bird wanted was the blazing dragon blood within the bump on the dragon's head. This blood contained the essence of the fire inside the dragon. This was much more precious than the blood from the rest of its body and was very rare. That slap from the old vermilion bird also forced out all of the blazing dragon blood, and it fell on the burning earth incense stick. The moment the blood fell, it entered the incense stick and disappeared. Inside the earth trial, the 9-colored fire lotus was floating in the sky, and Wang Lin was sitting above it. Behind it, the 9-colored vermilion bird continued to cry. There was a sense of struggle in its cry, as if it was trying to be reborn. There were endless flashes of light that spread across all directions. The sea of fire spread across the earth realm. Wang Lin's eyes were bright as his hands formed a seal and a fire tattoo flashed in his eye. This fire was 9-colored, and it began to rotate. It rotated very fast, and in a flash it looked like a 9-colored vortex. 9 colors fuse into one. Vermilion bird 4th awakening. Wang Lin's mind was clear. He had experienced 3 awakenings, and his power of fire had increased many folds each time. However, the previous 3 times couldn't compare to this awakening. The 4th awakening was extremely critical. It was the point where the corporeal fire transformed into ethereal fire. Since ancient times, far too few people were able to awaken their vermilion bird 4 times. No more than 5 people. The 1st generation vermilion bird, 2nd generation vermilion bird, 3rd generation vermilion bird, 4th generation vermilion bird. Aside from them, only Wang Lin had done it. Even though the 3rd step ancestor of the fire sparrow clan also had a hint of ethereal fire, he wasn't even a vermilion bird to begin with, so how could he even awaken? Even if he could give birth to ethereal fire, it would be nothing compared to the ethereal fire of a proper vermilion bird. The difficulty of the 4th awakening was indescribable. The power of ethereal fire spells could cause all cultivators to tremble in fear. However, the vermilion bird's 4th awakening required an unimaginable amount of fire. Only when enough heavenly fire had been gathered could there be a chance of awakening. The 9-colored fire lotus below Wang Lin released endless 9-colored fire which entered his body. This fire appeared inside his left eye, causing the 9-colored vortex to rotate even faster. At the same time, the large 9-colored vermilion bird cried even louder. Its cries were heaven-shattering and caused the entire earth trial to tremble. Not enough! Not enough fire! Wang Lin looked up and fire erupted from his body. The 9-colored vortex flew out from his left eye and formed a 9-colored firestorm around him. This firestorm looked like it could destroy this world. Wang Lin's vermilion bird's 4th awakening relied on burning his obsession to ignite the fire of karma. Thus, the amount of fire required was even higher. Just at this instant, dark red bloodlight flashed in the earth trial, and a thin blood rain began to fall. The blood rain fell from the sky, and each drop contained destructive fire from the fire dragon. Its arrival brought Wang Lin a new source of fire. As the blood raindrops fell, they began to gather around Wang Lin rather than fall on the ground. Soon, a ball of blood formed around Wang Lin. The ball of blood began to burn and immediately started being absorbed by the nine-colored vermilion bird. The amount of fire inside Wang Lin's body increased rapidly, and the nine-colored vermilion bird let out a heaven-shaking cry. The fire in the entire earth trial became even stronger. The rain of blood continued to fall, and as Wang Lin's hands formed seals, the fire around him burned like crazy. The nine-colored vermilion bird let out cries as the blood rain fused with it. Then the nine-colored feathers on his body began to burn. Still not enough, Wang Lin's eyes shined. He could feel that the fire hadn't reached the point where his vermilion bird could go through its fourth awakening. The eyes of the middle-aged man on the empty mountain revealed a strange light. He looked into the distance, and his hands formed a seal, and the fire mark between his brows floated before him. The fire mark became ethereal, as if it didn't exist. This middle-aged man let out a sigh and murmured, "This person has the aura of someone I am familiar with, the aura of my disciple Lu Yun when I left back then." I made it difficult for that child. The middle-aged man's eyes dimmed as he reached for the fire before him and threw it. An ethereal fire began to burn inside the earth trial. This fire gave off no heat, but could still burn everything in its path. The moment it appeared, it flew toward Wang Lin. In an instant, the monstrous ethereal fire appeared around Wang Lin and quickly entered the struggling nine-colored vermilion bird. The middle-aged man was the master of the fifth generation vermilion bird Lu Yun, the fourth generation vermilion bird. He had awakened the vermilion bird and entered the realm of ethereal fire. The moment the ethereal fire fused with Wang Lin's vermilion bird, the vermilion bird let out a noble cry. The fire around Wang Lin increased several-fold. With the help of this fire, Wang Lin, who was sitting on the fire lotus, let out a roar. The fire around him surged, and the nine-colored firestorm shrouded around him and the vermilion bird. As the vortex rotated, the nine colors were about to fuse into one. It started rotating even faster and more violently. In an instant, the nine-colored firestorm became a blur of chaos, and the nine colors became blurry. In an instant, the red within the nine colors collapsed and dissipated. Soon after, orange trembled and disappeared. These two colors of fire seemed to have fused, making this firestorm even more intense. The entire earth trial was burning under this sea of fire. At this moment, on the great emperor planet, the dragon was staring at the old vermilion bird. All the blazing dragon blood from the bump on its head had been squeezed dry, to the point that not a single drop more could be forced out. The old vermilion bird stared at it and roared, "Damn it, what are you staring at? Since all the blazing dragon blood is gone, give me some ordinary dragon blood. You re so large, it won't be any problem to shed some blood." The dragon was going to let out a roar of revolt, but the old vermilion bird was one step faster. He waved his hand and an invisible force sealed the dragon's mouth, causing its roar to be forced back with nowhere to go. Borrowing this roar that was forced back, the old vermilion bird waved his hand. A wound 1,000 feet long appeared on the dragon, and blood gushed out of it like a waterfall. "You have already given up all your blazing dragon blood, but if you give up now, it will all be a waste. If that kid can awaken, I won't keep my promise." The grievance in the dragon's eyes became even stronger, but when it heard the old vermilion bird's words, it closed its eyes. It began to squeeze out its own blood like crazy while roaring in its heart. These vermilion birds are all perverted. It was the first generation vermilion bird that tricked me to make me leave the flame domain and then constantly drew blood. What kind of life is this? Now that the second generation vermilion bird has promised me freedom, this old dragon has to try. Large amounts of dragon blood entered the earth trial. The blood rain fell from the sky, causing the fire to become even stronger. Although this dragon blood couldn't compare to the blazing dragon blood, there was much more of it. Thus, the amount of fire Wang Lin had for his fourth awakening increased. The firestorm around Wang Lin roared. After the red and orange fires disappeared, the yellow fire disappeared as well, followed by the ghostly green fire. On the great emperor planet, the old vermilion bird's eyes shined. He clenched his teeth as his left hand formed a seal, and he pointed to the spot between his brows before pointing at the earth incense stick. An ethereal fire shot out from his finger toward the earth incense stick. Little fellow, in order to help you, this old man has given it his all. Whether you can awaken for the 4th time will depend on your own luck. Inside the Earth Trial, after the rain of blood, the old vermilion bird's ethereal fire rushed in and fused with Wang Lin's vermilion bird. The appearance of this force caused the indigo, blue, and purple fires to disappear from the firestorm around Wang Lin. At this moment, 7 colors had already fused. Only black and white continued to struggle. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He waved his hand and whispered, "The fire here has already reached a limit and there is nothing left to burn. In that case, I don't need any help. I will fuse the black and white fires by force." "Thou spell fuse," Wang Lin roared, and the black and white fire around him trembled. A strange force came out of Wang Lin's body. It was a force that could fuse anything. At this moment, the white fire immediately dissipated. There was only black fire left within the firestorm. This black firestorm was still rotating, but it became lighter and lighter, weaker and weaker. A moment later, Wang Lin stood up and let out a roar, causing the black fire to collapse. The 9 colors fused into one. The moment the 9 colors fused into one, Wang Lin's vermilion bird rushed out. The vermilion bird was surrounded by faint ethereal fire, and it let out a heaven-shaking vermilion bird cry. Vermilion bird's 4th awakening. Complete. 4th awakening. Turn my corporeal fire into ethereal fire. Wang Lin suddenly got up. The 9-colored fire lotus below him shattered into countless fragments and gathered toward his vermilion bird. It's the middle of the month. Wishing Leo's video gets plenty of likes. Remember to like and share Leo's video, okay? And don't forget to leave your thoughts about the video. Chapter 1413. Change to the heaven-defying bead. The moment the vermilion bird went through its 4th awakening, all the fire in the Earth Trial began to gather from all directions. In the blink of an eye, it all fused into the vermilion bird's body. The fragments of the 9-colored fire lotus formed a 9-colored armor around the vermilion bird. Then the sea of fire arrived, and in just a moment, all of it was absorbed by the vermilion bird. From afar, it no longer looked a vermilion bird, but an eternal fire spirit. The fire inside had already reached the peak of corporeal fire, and only needed one step to reach the realm of ethereal fire. The vermilion bird fire spirit seemed to distort as the fire roared, and it was going through its final transformation phase. The process could be long or short, but it couldn't be disturbed. Once it was disturbed, this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity would dissipate, and the 4th awakening would revert, leaving no chance of another 4th awakening. This was an extremely critical moment for Wang Lin. However, just at this moment, a shocking change that Wang Lin couldn't have predicted occurred. The 10,000 cultivators were all starting at the earth incense stick, but only a few noticed that a shocking change was occurring in the magnetic fog around the great Emperor planet. The magnetic force was churning the fog, and muffled rumbles could be heard from within. The great Emperor planet was shaped like a bar, and normally it would be very difficult to detect its rotation. However, at this moment, the entire planet rumbled, and the sky changed colors. The surrounding cultivators all felt like the earth was shaking and the sky was trembling. The great Emperor planet began to slowly rotate. From an almost unnoticeable rotation, it got faster and faster until it was like a needle spinning frantically on a compass. This change immediately caused the expressions of the surrounding cultivators to change. Master Simo's eyes were filled with terror as he suddenly looked up. Grandmaster Yun Luo's hand was still forming seals when, with a bang, her right hand became a bloody mess. Her body was knocked back, her face became pale, and she coughed out a mouthful of blood. The upheaval of the great Emperor planet, a calamity will descend upon the ancient star system. Grandmaster Yun Luo trembled as she retreated with fear in her eyes. Her divination just now had reached a critical point, and she was about to divinate the truth when a force came out of nowhere and caused her right hand to explode. However, the moment her right hand was crippled and her divination was interrupted, she saw a blurry image. In that image, there was a blurry figure surrounded by a bead. There was also a pointer of a compass behind him. It was the ancient star system, and it was filled with a monstrous bloodlight, and countless dead bodies could be seen. The entire ancient star system was dyed blood red. She saw Tao Master Miao Yin's flesh collapse, and Origin Soul destroyed. She also saw the various third-step cultivators of the ancient star system all dying tragically. She also saw the collapse of the sealed realm formation. She also saw herself in a palm from the vague figure swinging at her. Intense pain filled her body as her body was reduced to ashes and her origin soul died. The moment her origin soul was destroyed, she let out a miserable scream. As that scream echoed at the moment of her death, that blurry figure seemed to turn around and looked at her. This gaze became her nightmare. Grandmaster Yun Luo coughed out blood once more and retreated several hundred feet. She had never felt so afraid before. Dao Master Miao Yin also jumped up, and the cloud below him dissipated. He caught the fan and his divine sense spread out, his expression immediately changing. Not only him, Dao Master Blue Dream's eyes also narrowed. He waved his right hand, and blue light surrounded his daughter. His gaze locked onto the already chaotic sky. At this moment, the sky was filled with fog and endless magnetic force. The magnetic fog around the planet suddenly descended. The old vermilion bird's expression was extremely serious as he silently looked up. Even the old man on the lizard that had his eyes closed the whole time suddenly opened his eyes in shock. If they reacted like this, there was no need to talk about the surrounding 10,000 cultivators. They all scattered and fear filled their minds. They could feel the earth tremble and that the great emperor planet was rapidly rotating. Of course, they were rotating with it. There was also that giant tortoise on the arena. It raised its head and let out a sharp roar. Even more magnetic fog appeared in the sky. The fog formed a vortex in the sky before everyone's eyes and descended on the giant tortoise on the arena. The 10,000 surrounding cultivators all scattered in fear filled their eyes. Only the old vermilion bird and company remained motionless as they stared at the incoming magnetic vortex. The magnetic vortex suddenly descended. It wasn't attacking the giant tortoise but aimed at the earth incense stick. In a flash, the vortex entered the earth incense stick. From afar, this scene looked very shocking. It was as if the earth incense stick had become a black hole that devoured all the surrounding magnetic fog. The old vermilion bird's eyes filled with shock and he subconsciously gasped. This Master Simos expression revealed terror. He was in a daze and couldn't guess what was happening in the earth incense stick. As for the pale Grandmaster Yun Luo, when she saw the magnetic fog enter the earth incense stick, the fear in her eyes became even stronger. Could it be that the blurry figure was him? Dao Master Miao Yun was also staring at the earth incense stick. His mind was trembling and he roared in his heart, "Heaven-defying bead, this is definitely the power of the heaven-defying bead." Inside the earth incense stick, Wang Lin was at the key moment of his fire's transformation into ethereal fire. However, the heaven-defying bead inside his body suddenly erupted with origin energy. Wang Lin's expression changed, and he felt the earth trial tremble as if it was rapidly rotating. However, with him inside the trial, it was difficult to judge right away. At this moment, the sky of the earth trial was replaced by fog. This fog contained powerful magnetic force, and after it covered the whole sky, it charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin couldn't dodge at all. The endless magnetic force rushed into his body and toward the heaven-defying bead. The heaven-defying bead appeared on his chest and looked like a cyclone that continued to devour the magnetic force. It flashed rapidly, and every time it flashed, even more magnetic fog was absorbed. All of this happened in a flash. Wang Lin felt his body rumble. As the heaven-defying bead absorbed the magnetic force, it released a force into his soul and images flashed in his mind. The images all contained the same thing. It was a giant compass. This compass was very large. It could be compared to space itself. On the compass, there was a large pointer that was slowly turning. There was flashlight that came from the pointer and went into the unknown. At the center of the compass was a socket with a giant bead. That bead was the heaven-defying bead. At the same time, the images appeared in Wang Lin's mind. An illusion that shocked everyone's minds appeared around the great emperor planet as well. Outside the great emperor planet, there were flashes of light, and a giant compass appeared. After the illusion appeared, the great emperor planet in the middle looked like a pointer. At this moment, the giant emperor planet was rapidly rotating just like a compass pointer spinning. There was a blurry bead at the center of the compass. This bead was cloudy, and a vague figure could be seen inside. This figure was Wang Lin. The pointer-like great emperor planet suddenly trembled and stopped rotating. It was pointing at the southwest direction. The moment it stopped rotating, a ray of ghostly light flashed from the great emperor planet and shot out toward the southwest direction of the ancient star system. The ghostly light was something unknown and moved at an indescribable speed. In a flash, it shot into the distance. Anything that got in its path, whether it was cultivators or cultivation planets, silently disintegrated. In a flash, the ghostly light arrived at the end of the southwest direction. This was where the sealed realm formation was. The sealed realm formation had cultivators stationed there at all times. All the cultivators felt their vision blur, and in a flash, these nearly 1,000 cultivators' bodies all disintegrated. The ghostly light directly collided with the sealed realm formation. The sealed realm formation seemed to boil and all the treasure spirits appeared. Then the ghostly light dissipated. It was unknown if it had merged with the formation or pierced into it. The illusory compass around the great emperor planet slowly dissipated, and the planet stopped rotating, returning back to the way it was before. Inside the Earth trial, the heaven-defying bead inside Wang Lin absorbed the last of the magnetic force. Then endless magnetic force rushed out of the bead as if it was spitting back out all of the magnetic force that was devoured. Wang Lin's body was like a sieve as the large amount of magnetic fog erupted from his body. The vermilion bird that was at the critical moment of turning from corporeal fire to ethereal fire was the first to bear the brunt of the magnetic force. The moment the magnetic force swept by, all the corporeal fire collapsed and turned into ethereal fire. However, due to the magnetic force that swept by, the fire went through a bizarre change. If the first-generation vermilion bird ancestor saw this change, even he would be shocked. Mid-month, hoping to get the like button pressed for the video, Chapter 1414, Fame of the Fallen Land. The ethereal fire is invisible, and it can ignite all emotions ablaze. However, this fire can only be used to hurt enemies, and can increase the cultivation level of a vermilion bird clan member. Ethereal fire is the fire that can exterminate the world. It can kill but can be extracted from the cultivator's body. It's invisible, so it can last forever. The amount that exists will only ever be the amount that was converted from corporeal fire. All the way until the cultivator's death, that how much ethereal fire they will have. However, at the moment of the birth of Wang Lin's ethereal fire, it was swept by the magnetic force. A strange change that not even the first-generation ancestor could explain occurred. This moment the ethereal fire was born, it absorbed some of the magnetic force. If this was just it, it wouldn't be a big deal, as the external magnetic force could dissipate at any time. However, the magnetic force inside Wang Lin's ethereal fire came from the heaven-defying bead, so the magnetic force was eternal. As a result, although the magnetic force hadn't changed the power of the ethereal fire, it made Wang Lin the first person in existence to be able to absorb ethereal fire. Wang Lin didn't have much ethereal fire at its birth, but if he continued to absorb more, the power of his ethereal fire would be terrifying. The magnetic fog quickly surged out from Wang Lin's body and filled the Earth trial in an instant. A moment later, it broke out from the Earth trial and rose up above the great Emperor planet. The endless magnetic fog rushed out and filled the sky of the great Emperor planet. It charged back out and became the magnetic force that surrounded the planet. It looked as if hadn't changed from before, but if one looked closely, they would find the difference. Before entering the heaven-defying bead, the magnetic fog was destructive and was dead. However, now it seemed complete and seemed to contain life. The 10,000 cultivators stared dumbfoundedly at all of this. As they watched the second incense stick release all the magnetic fog, cracking sounds came from the giant incense stick that was half burned. This sound was ear-piercing and clearly entered the ears of every cultivator. Cracks appeared on the incense stick and began to spread. Soon, cracks covered the entire incense stick. With a bang, the burning earth incense stick was split in half down the middle. The burning side slid off the giant tortoise and fell on the arena. The surroundings were completely silent. The human incense stick was extinguished, and the earth incense stick was split in half. The only one that remained towering was the heaven incense stick. Grandmaster Yun Wuo's expression was even more pale. The broken earth incense stick was like her broken mind, and the fear in her eyes became even stronger. It shouldn't be him. It can be him. Master Simo's mouth was dry after witnessing Wang Lin's trial. Everything that had happened was beyond his imagination. A trace of a deeply hidden sense of fear toward Wang Lin arose inside him. This was originally an impossible situation for a third-step cultivator, to dread a second-step cultivator. However, at this moment it appeared within Master Simo. Tao Master Miao Yin stared at the earth incense stick that had broken in half. His eyes narrowed as he took out a peach and took a big bite out of it. There was a flash of greed in his eyes. Heaven-defying bead, I want it. Tao Master Blue Dream had a complicated expression as he withdrew his gaze and silently pondered. Beside him, Li Chanmei lowered her head, so no one could see her expression. The old vermilion bird scratched his head and revealed a bitter smile. This little fellow, what did he do? The change to the great emperor planet was clearly related to him. How many secrets does this kid have hidden? This is great. The first incense stick went out and the second incense stick was split in half. How can the trial continue? How will the trial be scored? The surrounding 10,000 cultivators went into an uproar after a brief moment of silence. The second incense stick actually split in half. What cultivation level is this third young emperor at to be able to do this? The first incense stick extinguishing is already shocking, but it is nothing compared to the second incense stick splitting in half. I fear this is not related to the third young emperor. I think it has to do with the magnetic fog. However, why would the magnetic fog suddenly enter the incense stick? Various thoughts appeared in their heads, but all of their eyes landed on Wang Lin's body before the first incense stick, and they awaited his awakening. Will this person awaken, or will he ignite the next incense stick without touching it like before? In the Earth trial, after all the magnetic fog had rushed out of Wang Lin's body, the heaven-defying bead gradually disappeared. The entire Earth trial quieted down, only the ethereal fire around Wang Lin's vermilion bird was silently burning. After a long time, Wang Lin looked at the vermilion bird and inhaled. The vermilion bird let out a cry and entered his left eye. At the same time, ethereal fire appeared around Wang Lin's body. This fire was colorless and gave off a destructive aura. Wang Lin let out a deep breath of foul air and looked up at the sky. A moment later, instead of opting to leave, he stepped forward. He crossed tens of thousands of kilometers and arrived at the edge of the Earth trial, at the empty mountain that wasn't burned. The fourth generation vermilion bird was sitting silently on the empty mountain. He was inside the trial as well, so he had clearly felt what Wang Lin had gone through, and he was shocked. However, he wasn't an ordinary person. He quickly suppressed the shock and silently looked into the distance. Before him, the world twisted and Wang Lin walked out. He arrived before the fourth generation vermilion bird and also silently pondered. The fourth generation vermilion bird looked back at Wang Lin and whispered, "After your fourth awakening, you still need to nourish your ethereal fire for a period of time. Bear that in mind." Wang Lin revealed a complicated expression toward the middle-aged man before him. He clasped his hands and asked, "Is Senior the fourth generation vermilion bird?" "I am." The middle-aged man nodded. Wang Lin stayed quiet. After a long time, he whispered, "The fifth generation vermilion bird has done along for Junior." Before he died, he talked about how he accompanied the fourth generation vermilion bird. The middle-aged man's eyes revealed sadness and he nodded. His voice contained melancholy as he whispered, "I know." Wang Lin raised his right hand and waved at the void. A crack to the storage space opened and a stone statue slowly flew out. This stone statue was formed by the old vermilion bird divine emperor's body after he died. The old vermilion bird divine emperor lived his life for the vermilion bird divine sect. In my opinion, no one is more qualified to be called a vermilion bird. As Wang Lin looked at the remains of the old vermilion bird divine emperor, memories of the past flashed in his mind. While the old vermilion bird divine emperor was worrying about the vermilion bird divine sect, you weren't there. The second generation vermilion bird wasn't there in the four divine sect. The white tiger divine emperor died, the black tortoise divine emperor defected, and the azure dragon divine emperor was trapped. For tens of thousands of years, only the old vermilion bird divine emperor held on. Even at this death, he couldn't forget about the matter of the vermilion bird divine sect. He couldn't forget his teacher today. Junior was able to see Senior, so I'll leave his remains here. I believe the old vermilion bird divine emperor would choose to stay here as well to accompany the teacher who abandoned him and never went back. Perhaps this is his home. Wang Lin withdrew a few steps, knelt before the old vermilion bird divine emperor, and kowtowed 3 times. "Old vermilion bird divine emperor, this disciple has brought you here from the vermilion bird divine sect. I have brought you back to the side of the fourth generation vermilion bird. Your home I can repay what you've done for me, but my promise will continue." After he got up, Wang Lin looked at the fourth-generation vermilion bird with a complicated expression. He clasped his hands and said, "Thank you, Senior, for helping me before. Junior is going to leave." Wang Lin let out a sigh and walked away. He could accept the second-generation vermilion bird, but he couldn't accept the fourth-generation vermilion bird. If the fourth-generation vermilion bird hadn't left, the old divine emperor would have already gone through the fourth awakening. If the fourth-generation vermilion bird hadn't left, the old divine emperor wouldn't have died. The fourth-generation vermilion bird looked at the corpse of his disciple and his body trembled. A powerful sense of sadness appeared in his eyes. He slowly stood up and his trembling right hand touched the face of his disciple. "Lu Yun, your teacher has wronged you." Tear flowed down from the eyes of the fourth-generation vermilion bird. "Teacher knew everything about the four divine sectors, just that I couldn't go back when I came to the ancient star system. Someone placed a mysterious seal in me," the fourth-generation vermilion bird murmured. His appearance seemed to age a lot as he looked at the corpse of his disciple and thought of the past. "Over the years I have tried to break the seal on me, but I still haven't succeeded. Even the first-generation ancestor couldn't release the seal. I can only stay in the earth trial and not take half a step outside. If I were to leave, the seal would erupt, making me lose my sanity and become crazy. Lu Yun, it's not that teacher didn't want to go back. I just couldn't go back." The tears of the fourth-generation vermilion bird fell as he looked at the corpse of his disciple. The tears contained the endless sadness, his heart, the painful memories, and the endless remorse. "Not just me, but the second-generation vermilion bird also has this seal inside him. He can suppress it, so he doesn't have to stay inside the earth trial, but he can leave the fallen land. This is the fallen land of my vermilion bird clan. Either we fall into madness or fall from grace." The fourth-generation vermilion bird bitterly murmured, as if he was explaining it to his disciple. Wang Lin's figure walked toward the sky further and further away until he disappeared without a trace. The moment his figure disappeared, his closed eyes suddenly opened under the human incense stick. Welcome everyone to watch. Fans of the narrative chapter expressed their wishes for praise in the latest installment. May the new chapter receive even more acclaim. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 141, Fighting Evil Sect. The fog was very thick in the Sea of Devils, and it was filled with yin energy. Wang Lin had only been here for a short while, but his clothes were already soaked. The sticky feeling of his clothes clinging to him was very uncomfortable. As for Li Muwan, her face was no longer pale but slightly red, and her skin was silky smooth. Her clothes were also soaked by the fog, revealing her exquisitely charming body. Wang Lin took one look and withdrew his gaze. His heart wasn't moved at all. If it wasn't for the fact that Li Muwan could make the distance Heaven-S pill and various other pills, he wouldn't have allowed her to follow him. The Sea of Devils was a huge basin. After descending for a long time, he still hadn't seen the bottom. However, he noticed that the deeper he went, the stronger the yin energy was. Soon, strange creatures started to appear in the fog. Some of them even had spiritual energy fluctuations. This made Wang Lin very surprised, but luckily, he was able to detect them soon enough, so there were only a few scares and never any real danger. Li Muwan was extremely nervous as she had heard too many rumors about this Sea of Devils. There was no reasoning with people here as power was the only thing that mattered. There was also a lack of female cultivators, so unless she had a powerful backing, she would likely have a very miserable fate. Before the upheaval in Haofen, there were always a lot of cultivators stationed at the border of the Sea of Devils. This often included nascent soul cultivators. Their sole purpose was to prevent demonic cultivators from raiding their country. Luckily, the powerful forces in the Sea of Devils were all in the center. The groups on the edges were all small, so as long as they were careful, nothing too big would happen. Wang Lin didn't know how long they had been flying for when he suddenly stopped. Li Muwan wasn't able to react fast enough, so she ran into his back. Wang Lin coldly looked at the fog in the distance and said, "Come out now!" 3 thin and tall figures appeared in the fog, but the fog was too thick for Wang Lin to see their exact figures, though it was obvious that they were 3 male cultivators. one of them shouted in a sharp voice. Arrogant. This area belongs to my fighting evil sect. If you are smart, leave behind the female cultivator or else. Before he finished speaking, Wang Lin let out a cold snort. Noisy. Die. The map had stated that there was no reasoning in the Sea of Devils, only the strong were respected. He waved his right hand and his J-realm divine sense spread out. Those three were only mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators, so Wang Lin could kill them at will. The red lightning suddenly flashed by the three of them. Their eyes became dimmer and dimmer before their souls shattered and died. Wang Lin walked forward and grabbed their bags of holding. He then kicked their bodies into the thick fog and left without taking another look. Li Muan was horrified as she looked at what occurred before her. This was the first time she had seen Wang Lin act. The other three were all at the mid-stage of foundation establishment just like she was, but they had all died mysteriously without any means to resist. She was shocked as she looked at Wang Lin's back. Then she suddenly thought back to half a month ago, when her brother Li Qiqing said something about the great battle over the spirit vein where thousands of cultivators participated. During the early stage of that battle, something strange was happening to the cultivators of Xuanshu. All of the foundation establishment cultivators of Xuanwu were mysteriously dying and falling from the sky. If it was only one or two, then it wouldn't be so bad. But Xuanwu only had 200 or so foundation establishment cultivators, and almost half of them died mysteriously like this. When she initially heard of this, she didn't believe it. She thought that it was only rumor, but looking at how those three foundation establishment cultivators had died, she couldn't help but remember that story. She followed behind Wang Lin and asked, with a trembling voice, senior apprentice brother, back in the Hofen Union, which army were you part of? Wang Lin didn't turn his head as he coldly said, the 10th Army. The moment the words the 10th Army entered Li Muan's ears, it was like lightning had struck her mind. She clearly remembered that her brother had said that the 10th Army was the one that fought that battle. Now she was almost certain that this cold-looking youth was the one responsible for massive amounts of deaths of the foundation establishment cultivators of Xuanwu. Thinking about this, her last sliver of will to resist evaporated completely. She couldn't even summon the strength to back out. But just then, she suddenly remembered a description of a strange technique that she had read back in the Luhi sect and blurted out. The technique you just used, was it the death spell? Wang Lin's heart was slightly startled, but nothing showed on his face. He calmly replied, without turning his head, you also know about the death spell? The moment Li Muan heard Wang Lin's words, she was even more certain that he knew the legendary death spell. The death spell was known as a technique from the ancient cultivation world that was incredibly hard to master. However, once mastered, all one had to do was look at someone, say the word die, and that person would immediately die. This type of technique was considered to be one of the most evil techniques among demonic cultivators. It requires one to fuse three types of energy. The first is yin energy, which comes from female cultivators' nascent souls, using the yin harvesting technique. The second energy is death energy, which is obtained by absorbing energy from the bones of the dead. Although this is similar to yin energy, the quality is very different. The third energy is killing energy. Once someone has killed enough, their body will produce its own killing intent. Once this killing intent gains its own consciousness, it becomes the killing energy needed. Fusing the three energies pushes the person to have to survive a trial to continue cultivating this technique. However, every night the user suffers unimaginable pain, and they have to survive this trial again every 3 years. Only after having gone through this cycle countless times can an early stage of the death spell be considered complete. If one wishes to continue cultivating it, the chance of death is even higher. According to some calculations, the chances of completely mastering the death spell are basically 0. Although this technique is very powerful, it is simply too vicious. Only a few demonic cultivators were willing to try to learn it. After listening to Li Muan describe the death spell with her trembling voice, Wang Lin's expression slightly changed and he remained silent. This silence caused Li Muan to become even more scared, and her heart pounded violently. After traveling in the Sea of Devils for a while, Wang Lin had finally entered the sea part of the area. The fog was much thicker now and the yin energy was a lot stronger. Staring at the ground below him, Wang Lin muttered a bit before taking a few steps back. He jumped around until he found a mountain peak. He stood on a rock that was protruding from the mountain as he took a flying sword out of his bag of holding and then pointed at the mountain. The flying sword flew toward the mountain and began carving. Sounds of metal scraping rock entered Wang Lin's ears. He couldn't help but frown as the mountain was too tough, and the flying sword was very weak. He let out a snort, and then slapped his bag of holding again. This time, more than flying swords came out. His G-realm divine sense entered each sword, and the swords rained down upon the mountain. This way, the progress immediately sped up, and a cave appeared on the side of the mountain. Li Muan had gotten used to Wang Lin during their travels. Since this guy could complete the death spell, then controlling 30 flying swords wasn't really anything surprising. She knew that the amount of flying swords one could control was dependent on a cultivator's divine sense. Time slowly passed and a cave with 4 rooms was slowly carved out. Thus, a simple cultivation cave was formed. Wang Lin took out spirit stones and set down various formations around the cave. After Li Muan saw the formations, she revealed a surprised expression, but after seeing the formation, the surprise disappeared, and a sliver of disdain appeared. However, that sliver of disdain quickly disappeared as she hid it. However, this sliver of disdain was still caught by Wang Lin. Although he was focused on placing the formation, his divine sense had never left Li Muan. Even on the way here, it was still the same. If Li Muan had made any unusual movement, Wang Lin wouldn't take care that she was a woman. He would be mercilessly killed her. After Wang Lin finished placing down the spirit stones, he didn't even turn around as he coldly said, "I plan to stay in this cave for a long time. If the formation is broken, I can easily escape, but you will have to rely on yourself." With that, he turned around and looked at Li Muan. Li Muan clenched her teeth and moved up without a word. She took out black flags from her bag of holding and placed them around the cave. However, she still felt unsafe, so she placed more formations down around the cave and even organized Wang Lin's formations to connect them all. After doing all of this, she clenched her jaw again and took out a blue crystallic beast bone. She used her flying sword to cut it into pieces, and after calculating for a while, she placed one piece down. She continued to place them. When all pieces of the beast bone were in place, 3 hours had passed. Li Muan's forehead was covered in sweat. She looked very tired as she said, "Including the formations you have placed, there are a total of formations. However, they are only beginner formations that can only stop foundation establishment cultivators from entering. I just used the bone of a crystal beast to lay down the 9 skeleton formation. Although the formation is only at power due to the lack of bones, it can still block a core formation cultivator for 1 hour. I only have this many crystal beast bones. If you want the formation to be even more stable, then we need more spirit beast bones." With that, she waved her right hand and tossed out a piece of jade. Wang Lin caught it and scanned it with his divine sense. Inside was information on how to enter the formation. After he finished reading it, he crushed the jade, then looked at Li Muan and pointed forward. Li Muan knew that she couldn't trust him, but there was nothing she could do, so she walked into the formation. Wang Lin left a sliver of his divine sense on her and followed behind. After safely passing through the layers of formations and entering the cave, Li Muan took out another small flag. She gently waved the flag and all the formations activated, releasing a thick fog. From the distance, one couldn't see anything at all, and even if they were to take a closer look, they would only see the mountain. Inside the cave, Wang Lin examined Li Muan, which caused her face to become even more pale. She took a few steps back and whispered, "Senior apprentice brother, should I refine the distance heaven pill for you now?" Wang Lin shook his head and said, "I don't dare to eat the pills you refine." Li Muan's eyes immediately became red as she silently lowered her head. After a long time, she raised her head, revealing a crying face, and whispered, "Senior apprentice brother has saved my life. Just tell me what I need to do for you to believe me." The current her was very beautiful and alluring. Wang Lin wasn't affected by Li Muan's beauty at all. His expression was still calm as he said, "I don't like forcing people, so I won't demand too much from you. All I need you to do is refine enough pills for me to reach the core formation stage. Once I have reached the core formation stage, I'll escort you out of the Sea of Devils. But during this period of time, I'll need you to hand over your soul essence blood to ensure nothing goes wrong with the pills during this period of time." Li Muan pondered for a bit, then nodded. She pointed her finger at her brow and forced out her soul essence blood. Then she sent the drop to Wang Lin. After Wang Lin received the soul essence blood, he threw out several bags of holding and said, "All of the materials are here. see what kind of pills you can refine. Li Muwan checked the bags with her divine sense and immediately exclaimed, This is desolate wood root, and there is yellow core grass. This there is burning golden root and heaven spirit grass. The more she looked through the bags, the more shocked she was. A large majority of the materials were for refining pills, and some had long been extinct in Hofen. Only disciples that came back from the foreign battleground every year would bring back some. Wang Lin rubbed his chin and threw out more than 10 bags of holding. These were his recent spoils. After removing all the treasures and spirit stones, all that was left were materials he didn't know about, so it was perfect to have Li Muwan identify them. After checking all of the bags of holding, all of Li Muwan's grief from before disappeared, and her face was now glowing. Her face was filled with excitement as she raised her head and asked, Senior apprentice brother, I can freely use all these materials. Wang Lin nodded. I only want pills. As for the process, you can do whatever you wish. Li Muwan smiled at Wang Lin for the first time. Her smile was very sweet as she said, with confidence, Senior apprentice brother can rest assured. I have calculated that I can make yellow spirit pills that can help increase cultivation, poison-avoiding pills, and various other pills with various effects. Once I have finished, I'll hand them to Senior apprentice brother. Senior apprentice brother, among the materials you have, the most valuable one is this demon blood vine. With that, she took out a very ordinary-looking red wood strip. This red wood strip is one of the ingredients for making the distance heaven pill, and one of the most important. I have only seen this demon blood vine in ancient records. With this I have confidence in refining one distant heaven pill, however. The effect will be a bit weaker as I need to find replacements for the other materials. Wang Lin's expression remained dull as he calmly said, I won't ask much about matters relating to refining pills. He pondered a bit and said, I plan on making a trip outside, at least 3 days and at most half a month. Watch out for yourself. With that, he was ready to leave. Li Muwan hesitated for a bit, then quickly said, Senior apprentice brother, when you go out, can you find me a pill furnace? I am fine with the materials, and the pill furnace I carry is fine for normal pills. However, if I were to use my current pill furnace, the success rate of the distance heaven pill would only be. Normally, the completion of the distant heaven pill uses the sect S heaven fusing furnace. Wang Lin slightly frowned. He looked at Li Muwan, then left without a word. Li Muwan secretly sighed. She originally didn't want to lie, but she was afraid that if she had told the truth earlier, he would have left her. However, now that they had reached this stage and she had even turned over her soul essence blood, she decided to bring up the matter of the distance heaven pill's success rate. If anything were to happen in the future, he might kill her in a moment of rage. After leaving the cave, Wang Lin checked his direction and looked toward where Zhao was. His eyes became cold as he muttered, Tang Huayuan, I am about to reach the core formation stage. Once I reach the nascent soul stage, I'll kill my way back to Zhao and uproot your entire clan. Tang Huayuan, you better not die early. Live and wait for my return. The coldness in his eyes slowly disappeared. He took a step, activated the earth escape technique, and quickly charged into the distance. The reason he was going out was to find more spirit beast bones. According to Li Muwan, only by adding more spirit beast bones could the 9 skeleton formation be at max power. Wang Lin knew that he was in a rush to reach the core formation stage, and in a place as dangerous as the Sea of Devils, he needed a relatively safe place to ensure nothing went wrong. Another reason was that he needed the skulls of spirit beasts to make the reaction furnace for the refining technique of the war god shrine. With both the formations and the reaction furnace, spirit beast bones were now a necessity for Wang Lin. According to the description given in the map Jade, there were spirit beasts within the fog and spirit beast bones at the bottom of the sea. However, many of those spirit beast bones had already been dug up by others, so even after walking for a long time, Wang Lin still hadn't found any. Also, the fog was very thick at the bottom of the sea, so his eyes were useless and he could only see with his divine sense. As he moved, his expression suddenly changed and he took a step back. Then a flying sword, flying in a wavy pattern, flashed by where Wang Lin was. Wang Lin was at the peak of late-stage foundation establishment, the pseudo-core formation stage, so he was able to completely see through this something-year-old man who was only at the early stage of foundation establishment. This person's face was dark purple, and his breathing was very rough. It was clear that he had been hit with a powerful poison causing him to not be able to fully control his spiritual energy. The moment that flying sword passed by, another ray of light chased closely behind it. Wang Lin's face became very strange as the person chasing the early-stage foundation establishment cultivator was a young man at the peak of the 15th layer of QI condensation. This person's face was snow white, had slender eyes and had a hint of evil on his face. The evil-looking young man was holding a black beast bone. As he leisurely chased after the middle-aged man, he kept on blowing on the bone. Every time he blew on it, black smoke would come out. The moment the black smoke appeared, it would quickly catch up to the foundation establishment cultivator and enter his body. Senior apprentice brother, run faster. Your junior apprentice brother wants to see how long you can last with those deadly poisons inside your body. The young man blew at the black bone again and continued in a creepy voice, Senior apprentice brother. Junior apprentice brother here has spent a very long time preparing these different deadly poisons for you. How else would I dare to act against you with your foundation establishment cultivation? Senior apprentice brother, you won't be able to run away. The middle-aged man clenched his teeth and remained silent as his flying sword crookedly flew up the mountain. Senior apprentice brother, you are already very old. How about you accept death and let me devour you with the foundation stealing technique? The evil-looking youth said, very slowly as he closed in on the middle-aged man. Wang Lin was interested in the beast bone and the young man's man. He moved forward and silently followed behind them. After the middle-aged man heard what the young man said, he didn't even turn his head as he cursed with a raspy voice. Xianxia, you bastard! If it wasn't for me pleading for you back then, how could Master have accepted you as a disciple? You dare to do such a vicious thing to your fellow disciples? Are you not afraid of Master finding out? The evil youth let out a hysterical laugh and said, Master, if Master didn't agree to this, how would I dare to openly ambush you like this? The middle-aged man's body trembled as he coughed out a mouthful of black blood. His body weakened, and he fell off his flying sword. The evil youth let out a cold snort and stopped 3 feet away from the body on his flying sword. He stabbed the corpse several times with his flying sword to make sure it was dead before grabbing it to leave. However, he suddenly stopped as he stared at a dark figure in the fog. Cold sweat covered his forehead. When he was chasing his senior apprentice brother, he had his divine sense spread out and didn't notice anything. However, this person now appeared silently before him, meaning that this person's cultivation level was far above his own. He threw the body on the ground, then immediately clasped his hands and bowed. The evil expression disappeared from his face and was replaced with a simple and honest expression as he said, Junior is the fighting evil sect's disciple, Xianxia. What has Senior stopped Junior for? Junior will do his best to help Senior. Wang Lin slowly walked out of the fog and coldly glanced at the youth. The youth felt like his simple and honest expression was seen through at a glance by Wang Lin, so he suddenly felt terrified. He had only felt like this when he was faced by his master, but his master was at the peak of late-stage foundation establishment and had foot in the core formation stage. Could this young man, who didn't look much older than him, be at the pseudo-core formation stage already? The youth's heart trembled, and his expression became even more respectful. Bring your beast bone here? Wang Lin's voice was cold and void of any emotion. The more Wang Lin acted like this, the more Xianxia panicked in his heart. He had grown up in the sea of devils and had heard of all kinds of demonic techniques. Although his cultivation level wasn't high, he had managed to cultivate a pair of demonic knowledge eyes. He knew that those powerful demonic cultivators were cold and ruthless. And although he had seen many demonic cultivators with those eyes, most were only an imitation. But this senior before him seemed to be cold and ruthless from the soul, especially that pair of eyes that caused even his heart to feel cold. He quickly threw out the beast bone that was in his hand, as he didn't dare to have any thoughts of resisting. Today marks the first watch, longing for the like button for the VIDEO. The VIDEO wants to charge up the trending charts, hoping the veteran supporters lend their firepower. Chapter 1415 Ancient Order Tomb opens. The moment Wang Lin opened his eyes, the 9-colored fire in his left eye became ethereal and rotated rapidly. It made him look extremely strange. The moment he opened his eyes, ethereal fire erupted from his body. This ethereal fire was heaven-shaking and spread out in all directions. Wang Lin's hair moved without any wind and began to flutter. He withdrew his hand from the first incense stick and looked at his surroundings. Grandmaster Yun Luo was still staring at Wang Lin, and when Wang Lin opened his eyes, she clearly saw his left eye. Her eyes widened, her pupils shrank, and monstrous fear filled his eyes. Her body trembled and she began to retreat. It was as if millions of bolts of thunder had flashed across her mind. She had lost all power in her body and her face was as pale as a dead person's. This Grandmaster Yun Luo could never forget the image she had just seen. The gaze from the figure that turned around and looked at her at the moment of her death. That blurry figure's left eye had a 9-colored vortex. Master Simo stared at Wang Lin and silently pondered. Dao Master Miao Yin also looked at Wang Lin. There was a strange light in his eyes, and he revealed an almost unnoticeable sneer. The old vermilion bird stood up with a laugh, feeling full of relief. However, given everything that had happened, Wang Lin had shocked him once more on top of having 5 essences. The old vermilion bird laughed. You've burned the 9-colored karma fire to ignite the 4th awakening and enter the realm of ethereal fire. Good, good. The old man sitting on the lizard looked at Wang Lin with a different gaze. He had battled the old vermilion bird far too many times and knew how powerful ethereal fire was. Now that Wang Lin had entered the realm of ethereal fire, he couldn't help but pay attention to Wang Lin. The woman behind Dao Master Blue Dream looked silently at Wang Lin. Dao Master Blue Dream saw her expression and let out a sigh in his heart. If only I hadn't erased URS memory and made Wang Lin stay to help his cultivation, instead of just passing him 3 spells. Dao Master Blue Dream felt remorse for the first time for what he had done back then. Wang Lin's gaze swept by everyone and he let out a deep breath. He saw flowing emotions from all of them. If he wanted to, he could turn those emotions into ethereal fire. When Wang Lin's gaze moved onto Grandmaster Yun Luo, she immediately lowered her head and slowly retreated. However, Wang Lin still saw that her emotions were way more intense than everyone else's. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird. Junior was fortunate and has already awakened. The old vermilion bird smiled even more brightly. Then he waved his hand and threw the dragon in his hand into the distance. You free little dragon, he laughed. The dragon was almost dead, as it had lost almost all its blood. When it heard this, its eyes lit up and it let out a roar as it struggled to fly far away. It disappeared into the horizon. The trial is not over. There is someone waiting in the last heaven incense stick. Go! The old vermilion bird looked meaningfully at Wang Lin. The human incense stick was extinguished, and the earth incense stick was split, but the heaven incense stick won't extinguish or break. This incense stick is guarded by the first-generation ancestor himself, and what is tested inside it is potential. The longer you can maintain it, the greater the potential. This old man lasted 12 breaths, and the 4th generation lasted 14 breaths. I want to know how long you'll last. If you can surprise me again, this old man will gift you the restriction in that silly dragoness body. With it, you can easily find where it escaped to. With the dragon as a guard, this old man will be at ease once you leave here. The old vermilion bird's words entered Wang Lin's mind. No one but him could hear Wang Lin. Wang Lin nodded and looked at where the dragon flew off to. The dragon that had just left the great emperor planet was very excited. Free! Finally free! Roar! This old dragon is finally free from the claws of the devil. After how many years? How many years? Tears appeared in the eyes of the dragon. It didn't know that it had been cheated by the first-generation vermilion bird, and was just given away as a gift by the second-generation vermilion bird. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. He didn't look at the crowd again but looked at the heaven incense stick. After pondering for a moment, he took a deep breath and pressed his hand on the heaven incense stick. First-generation vermilion bird ancestor. The ancestor of the vermilion bird clan, one of the 4 great generals under the ancient celestial sovereign. Such a person probably knows many secrets. If the vermilion bird clan is in the ancient star system, why does the fire sparrow clan exist? Since the vermilion bird clan has lasted until today, I presume the azure dragon, black tortoise, and white tiger clans are also alive. But where are they? The ancient celestial sovereign, is it the same person as the ancient celestial emperor, the lord of the sealed realm mentioned? If not, then what is their relationship? While Wang Lin pondered, he closed his eyes. The heaven trial was completely different from the other 2 trials. This was a world filled with white clouds, and there was only one other thing beside clouds. It was a giant statue. It was extremely large and covered a portion of the world. It was an old man that looked like a vermilion bird. His nose was like a beak, and there were even vermilion bird wings on his back. His eyes were closed, and there was a 9-colored fire burning between his eyebrows. The right hand of the statue reached out, and its palm opened. Wang Lin's figure was shrouded by a flash of light, and he appeared inside the palm. In the ancient star system, within a calm star domain, ripples echoed. These ripples were like waves, and they slowly spread in all directions. Shortly after, a ray of ghostly light flashed by. Before the ghostly light passed by, there was an abandoned planet here. There were no living beings on this planet, and it had no spiritual energy. It was considered a wasted planet. If any cultivators approached it, they wouldn't even take a look. However, this abandoned planet was in the ray of the ghostly light. When the light passed, the planet disintegrated, leaving only the ripples that slowly spread. However, at this moment, a 100-foot crack appeared in the center of the ripples. Endless death aura came from inside the crack, causing the crack to become bigger and bigger. Through the crack, one could see another world inside, and it was filled with countless floating rocks. On these rocks lay huge heads, some ancient gods, some ancient demons, and some ancient devils. The crack extended to 1,000 feet before it stopped expanding. It was like a large mouth waiting for food to arrive. Its appearance would set off a storm in the ancient star system. Shocking countless cultivators, the ancient order tomb opens. For now, just the first watch today. Leo will rest tonight and start catching up on the missed chapters tomorrow. Chapter 1416, Traitorous Third Vermilion Bird. Inside the heaven trial, Wang Lin stared at the giant statue, and his eyes lit up. This statue was too strange, and no matter how Wang Lin looked at it, it didn't look like a person. Instead, it looked like it was formed from a vermilion bird. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin clasped his hands at the statue and bowed before it. He said, "Junior 6th generation vermilion bird greets the ancestor." As he spoke, the 9-colored fire between the statue's eyebrows roared violently and shot into the sky. Light emitted from the statue's closed eyes. "To awaken 4 times without a strong bloodline, you re very good," a mighty buzzing voice echoed. Junior Wang Lin's expression was calm, and he was about to speak. "You can ask your questions in the trial. I am seriously injured, and my divine sense won't be awake for long. For every 5 breaths you last, you can ask 1 question." There was no emotion in that buzzing voice when it interrupted Wang Lin. As his voice echoed, fire began to roar on the hand Wang Lin was standing on. This fire rapidly changed between corporeal fire and ethereal fire. Every 9 transformations, the power of the fire would increase. This fire isn't ethereal fire, but my mind fire. In the past, it was known as the Vermilion Bird Endless Flame. When Wang Lin was experiencing the trial, an ancient aura came from the ancient order tomb, extending out of the 1,000-foot spatial crack. This ancient aura merged with the ancient star system and began pulling in tiny, almost invisible dust particles toward it. More and more dust particles gathered until they formed a storm around the spatial crack. From a distance, it looked like a spinning nebula. This storm became larger and larger until it shook the entire star domain. A terrifying force came out of the storm, destroying everything around it. Many abandoned planets nearby were pulled in by the suction force. They were quickly torn apart inside the storm and became part of it. There were 19 cultivation planets lined up in a line in the northern part of the ancient star system. The 10th planet at the center looked like it was all ocean, like a planet of water. There was a cultivator sitting at the bottom of the ocean under the endless water. He looked very old, and his hair was white. Every time he breathed, the ocean would roar and waves would be sent out in all directions. The moment the ancient order tomb opened and the storm formed, the old man opened his eyes. His eyes were deep, as if they were the ocean itself. "Something says wrong." The old man's eyes lit up. After pondering for a bit, there was a hint of hesitation in them. "It is impossible to do anything about the heaven-defying bead on the great emperor planet, so I'll deal with it later. Avatar, quickly come back and check out that storm. See what it is." This old man was one of the 5 masters, the original body of Tao Master Miao Yin. The young man on the great emperor planet was just one of his 3 main avatars. At the same time, outside the fallen land, a giant oval-shaped beast the size of a cultivation planet was slowly closing in. The old man sitting on its back with the yin and yang face tattoo had his eyes closed, but he suddenly opened them and looked into the distance with a strange light in his eyes. This is before he finished muttering to himself, The moon gazer under him suddenly trembled and looked into the distance. There was flashes of fear and excitement in its eyes as it opened its mouth to let out a heaven-shattering roar. The old man with the yin and yang face tattoo hesitated for a bit before changing directions and steering the moon gazer to head toward the location of the ancient order tomb. On the great emperor planet, everyone was looking at the heaven incense stick when the young man's expression suddenly changed. Without hesitation, he clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird and smiled. Friends, I have another matter to attend to, so I want to keep watching the ceremony. Goodbye. With that, he turned around and took a step. His body turned into specks of light and he disappeared. This sudden change shocked everyone, and the expressions of all the third step cultivators changed. Tao Master Blue Dream's eyes narrowed and he looked up. After pondering a bit, he clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird and said, "This matter is strange, I need to go check it out." After he finished speaking, he looked at Li Qianmei and let out a sigh. He waved his sleeve and blue light surrounded the two of them before they disappeared. There was also the old man sitting on the lizard. His eyes also revealed a strange light. His mouth, which was sealed by a needle, twitched. Then he clasped his hands at the old vermilion bird but didn't speak. His right hand hit the lizard and it flew off with a hiss. Grandmaster Yun Luo and Master Simo looked at each other. She clasped her hands and was about to speak when smoke suddenly came from the heaven incense stick. The heaven incense stick has ignited. He has ignited the last incense stick so quickly. I wonder how many breaths this third young emperor can last. Can he surpass the second young emperor? The surrounding cultivators' gazes suddenly gathered on the heaven incense stick. Even Grandmaster Yun Luo, who was about to leave, looked at it. The heaven incense stick began burning, and the smoke it started emitting was monstrous. It was like a torch, giving off waves of heat, and it rapidly burned down. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths in the heaven trial. Wang Lin was sitting in the palm and 9-colored fire was burning around him. From away, it looked like the palm was holding a ball of fire. The moment the fire appeared, it contained a terrifying, destructive force. 3 breaths passed by instantly, but the fire made Wang Lin feel an indescribable sense of heat. He even had the feeling that he was inside a furnace and was being refined by someone. The feeling became even more intense, and the fire continued to surge. After almost every breath, the fire would transform 9 times, so every breath would cause the power of the fire to increase greatly. 3 breaths, just 3 breaths had already made Wang Lin feel like he was going to collapse. What kind of trial was this? This fire was trying to refine his soul. Wang Lin could clearly feel that if not for the fact that his vermilion bird had had its 4th awakening and ethereal fire had appeared in his body, his soul would have been burnt to nothing after 3 breaths. On the great emperor planet, his body began to tremble and large beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. However, the moment it appeared, the sweat turned into fog. His body was like a piece of hot iron that was going to be destroyed by the heat inside him. Inside the heaven trial, Wang Lin's face was pale. His expression was no longer respectful, it had become ferocious. He let out a roar as his hand formed a seal and 9-colored fire rushed out of his left eye. Then the 9-colored fire surged out from his body. He was using fire to resist the fire. Thunderous rumbles echoed inside the giant palm. 4 breaths, 5 breaths. On the great emperor planet, the cultivators were staring at Wang Lin's body. At this moment, his body was surrounded by a mist formed from his own sweat. At the 5th breath, the mist collapsed. The burning from the heaven incense stick paused for a moment after having already burned half the incense stick. After Wang Lin lasted for 5 breaths, he immediately roared. The Vermilion Bird clan is in the ancient star system, so why does the Fire Sparrow clan exist? The traitorous 3rd Vermilion Bird was created by the enemy. He stole my treasures and escaped to create the Fire Sparrow clan. I am sealed here, so I couldn't clean house. Also, the existence of the Fire Sparrow clan is good for me, the buzzing voice answered simply and then fell silent once more. The fire around Wang Lin increased. The fire from the ancestor turned into a firestorm. Wang Lin was rushed by the storm, and the 9-colored fire around him collapsed. Intense pain washed over him as he coughed out a mouthful of soul energy. His face immediately became deathly pale. The injury in his soul reached his body. On the great emperor planet, his body trembled and blood came out of the corner of his mouth. However, before it could drip to the ground, it was burned to ashes and dissipated into black smoke. After witnessing this scene, the old vermilion bird's eyes became serious, and his expression became extremely gloomy. Could the first-generation ancestor have lost it, so use the vermilion bird endless flame for the trial? The purpose of the heaven trial should be to give him a great fortune. What is the meaning of his behavior? Master Simo's eyes lit up and revealed a hint of surprise. He couldn't help but look at Grandmaster Yun Luo. She bit her lower lip and narrowed her eyes. She wanted to divinate, but when she recalled Wang Lin's gaze, her mind trembled and she didn't dare to try. Sixth breath, seventh breath, eighth breath, under the heaven incense stick. Blood flowed out from Wang Lin's mouth and his skin wrinkled, becoming dry. Even his blood started boiling. It was as if his blood was going to evaporate from the heat coming from his soul. Wang Lin's souls inside the heaven trial clenched his teeth and his face became twisted. The fire from the first-generation vermilion bird was no longer nine-colored but chaotic. The temperature inside had reached Wang Lin's limit. Under this intense heat, the pain was like the ocean waves. It was several times more intense than the human trial and the earth trial. This is a trial? Wang Lin suddenly looked up and stared viciously at the statue of the first-generation vermilion bird. There was anger in his eyes, and the thunder tattoo appeared in his right eye. Thunder suddenly rumbled across the world and endless thunder appeared in the heaven trial. Endless thunder gathered toward his right eye and the thunder tattoo appeared around his body. The moment the thunder tattoo appeared, and thanks to the thunder around Wang Lin, it allowed him to pass the 9th and 10th breaths. Not paying attention, this chapter quickly racks up 5,000 words. Does that qualify as a major chapter? Could it be wishing for the like button for the video? Chapter Cultivation is like a hand. After 10 breaths passed, the thunder tattoo around Wang Lin shined brightly, and it included the fire of his fourth awakening vermilion bird. What is the relationship between the ancient celestial sovereign and the ancient celestial emperor? In your world you call him the ancient celestial emperor. In my time he was called the ancient celestial sovereign. The first-generation vermilion bird slowly answered. There was no emotion in his words. However, the moment he finished speaking, the fire from the palm Wang Lin was in increased once more. The fire quickly turned into a giant vermilion bird. This vermilion bird was very old and seemed to have lived for countless years. It let out a grim cry as it charged toward Wang Lin. 11th breath. Wang Lin's eyes revealed madness. The thunder tattoo that contained fire suddenly expanded. As the vermilion bird closed in, Wang Lin suddenly stood up and pushed up. In an instant, the ancient vermilion bird collided with the thunder tattoo and a thunderous roar echoed across the world. A powerful shockwave spread in all directions. Wang Lin's body trembled violently and half of his soul exploded and dissipated. His body on the great emperor planet shook violently. His body coughed out blood and was teetering. His face was ashen and large amounts of blood fog came out of his body. Large amounts of his blood was being evaporated. This scene shocked all the surrounding cultivators. The old vermilion bird's pupils shrank as he let out a roar and arrived next to the heaven incense stick. His divine sense rushed out toward the heaven trial. The moment his divine sense entered, his voice roared inside the heaven trial. Ancestor, what is the meaning of this? Could he not be a member of my vermilion bird clan? Could he have been created by someone else? You leave. The buzzing voice rumbled and formed an invisible force that landed on the old vermilion bird's divine sense, forcing him out of the heaven trial. I have my own plan. 12th breath. The thunder tattoo collapsed and turned into countless fragments that returned to Wang Lin's eye. The fire from the old vermilion bird collapsed, and he was knocked back a few hundred feet. Wang Lin waved his right hand and a rift to his storage space appeared. There was a flash of blood light, and the blood sword appeared. Wang Lin pointed ferociously at the sky, and the blood sword chased after the vermilion bird. At this instant, after the blood sword shot out, Wang Lin's hand formed a seal. He pointed at the sky and shouted, "In the name of my heavenly thunder, condense the endless thunder of heaven to open the ancient thunder realm." 13th breath. His voice became louder and louder until it was heaven-shattering. The moment he spoke, Wang Lin waved his hand at the void before him. The world rumbled and began to twist. A giant spatial rift 10,000 feet long opened. Endless roars echoed from the rift, and several ancient thunder dragons' giant bodies could be seen moving within. Open the ancient thunder realm. This was the spell of the Scatter Thunder Clan's head elder. However, after soul searching the head elder, and thanks to his thunder essence, Wang Lin could also use this extremely powerful thunder spell. The thunder dragons let out angry roars and were coming out of the spatial rift. However, just at this moment, the voice of the first generation vermilion bird echoed. Vermilion bird, seal, seal? As the indifferent voice echoed, the ancient vermilion bird let out a hiss and charged at the 10,000-foot rift. There was a surge of fire and it imprinted on the 10,000-foot rift. The vermilion bird turned into a giant seal and sealed the rift to the ancient thunder realm. The ancient thunder dragon struggled inside to break out, but no matter how much they tried, they couldn't break the vermilion bird seal. 14th breath. Wang Lin's body trembled, and he waved his hand without hesitation. The blood sword in the sky changed directions and charged at the huge statue. At this instant, the huge statue's closed eyes suddenly opened. The pair of eyes was devoid of any emotion. The moment the eyes opened, the blood sword was surrounded by an invisible force. It was frozen just outside the eyebrows of the statue and couldn't move forward. This sword is in your hands. For the first time, shock appeared in the voice of the first generation vermilion bird. On the great emperor planet, the old vermilion bird's expression was gloomy and his right hand bounced off the incense stick. He took a few steps back and looked at Wang Lin with a complicated expression. He had no idea why the ancestor was doing this. 14 breaths, the third young emperor, also reached 14 breaths. 14 breaths is his limit. You can see that his flesh is almost destroyed, and almost all of his blood is about to evaporate. Master Simo narrowed his eyes. With his cultivation level, he naturally saw the old vermilion bird's gloomy expression. He sneered in his heart. It looks like another accident has happened. This little bastard has gone through a lot of ups and downs in this trial. It is best he dies in this trial and save me some trouble. The heaven incense stick violently and quickly burned down. There was only a few dozen feet left. In the heaven trial, after the 15th breath passed, the palm under Wang Lin trembled and began to move. The palm formed a fist as the fire roared. Wang Lin didn't even have a chance to ask the third question before the pressure from the 5 fingers descended. A mysterious force descended, making it so Wang Lin couldn't escape. Seeing the 5 fingers descend, Wang Lin let out a roar and popping sounds came from his body. The 5 fingers pressed down on his arms. He felt as if his entire body was going to disintegrate. Wang Lin had a ferocious expression and let out a roar. The lower half of his body collapsed under this powerful force. 16th breath, 17th breath, 18th breath. Wang Lin's body continued to collapse. He could not see the sky anymore as the 5 fingers covered the sky. When Wang Lin reached 19 breaths, the hand clenched. However, just as the hand clenched, a vermilion bird cry came from the fist along with ethereal fire. Wang Lin's soul turned into a vermilion bird. The eyes of the first generation vermilion bird revealed a strange light. He looked at his own fist, and his gaze seemed to penetrate it as he watched Wang Lin's struggling vermilion bird soul. The 9-colored fire between his eyebrows flashed and ethereal fire shot out toward his fist. This ethereal fire was invisible, but when it entered his fist, his entire palm was shrouded in fire. I can decide whether you live or die with just a thought, but you still want to tell me the truth, even now. I saw through your secret when you were at the Armored Dragon clan. I only let you live because I want to know your true identity. I arranged for you to become the young emperor to draw you here. I arranged for the second generation to appear to lead you to this trial. Now that you are finally here, tell me, who are you? Why are you impersonating a member of my vermilion bird clan? The juniors might not see through your secret, but you can hide anything from me. Right after he spoke, a monstrous fire appeared in the eyes of the first generation vermilion bird as he stared at the struggling Wang Lin and carefully observed Wang Lin's expression. After hearing this, Wang Lin was startled for a moment while struggling and let out an angry laugh. Since you want to tell me the truth, then this vermilion bird will grant you death. The first generation vermilion bird's eyes revealed a strange light as he stared at Wang Lin inside his fist. After he spoke, his ethereal fire rushed toward the center of his fist and entered Wang Lin's vermilion bird. The moment the ethereal fire entered Wang Lin's vermilion bird, he clearly saw images flash by. These images included the 5th generation vermilion bird leaving the vermilion bird mark on Wang Lin. He saw Wang Lin's first awakening, second awakening, third awakening. The first generation vermilion bird didn't just look through the memories once, but over and over again, carefully examining them thousands of times. Finally, he let out a deep breath and the mysterious light in his eyes disappeared, revealing a rarely seen trace of kindness. This fist also slowly loosened. "Can you still hold on?" His voice was no longer cold. It now contained a hint of admiration. Wang Lin's vermilion bird silently stared at the first-generation ancestor. "Before, it was because I was wrong about one person, and thought of him as one of my own that I ended up like this. I can even take half a step out of the heaven trial you suddenly appeared. And although all your characteristics line up with my clan, this old man must be cautious. I hope you understand." Wang Lin silently pondered as the vermilion bird he had formed slowly dissipated. He returned to his human form and slowly said, "The third-generation vermilion bird. That is right. I couldn't find a single flaw after searching his soul. No matter how much I observed, I couldn't find a single clue. It wasn't until the end that I found out that he was created by someone else. There was hatred in the words of the first generation. Vermilion bird. In the absence of incense stick, you already have 5 essences. Although these 5 essences have just formed, this phenomenon is rare. However, your path is wrong," the first generation vermilion bird slowly said. "Your thunder essence formed the void gate, but you couldn't open it. You think you're not strong enough. That's right and wrong. You think you should wait for your fire essence to be completed before trying to open the void gate again. In your heart, you don't even value the 5 heaven blights. You don't want to go through the 5 heaven blights. You want to directly break the void gate at the peak of the nirvana shatter stage. If you think you can do it, you're wrong." Wang Lin was startled but remained silent. The first generation vermilion bird let out a sigh and slowly closed his eyes. His voice echoed in the world. "Do you know why humans have 5 fingers in each hand? In my time, there was also the 5 heaven blights, only it was called the 5 void-shattering fingers cultivation. Cultivation in truth. You and I are only cultivating a hand. The first step is the palm and the second step is the palm print. The palm print is law, and everyone's palm prints are different, so their laws are also different. The 5 void-shattering fingers, or the 5 heaven blights, are the finger on your palm. If you want to cover the sky with your hand, you must have all 5 fingers. If you understand it, you understand it. If not, there will be no chance for you to break the void." Here comes another 4,000 words in a major chapter. Leo doesn't make empty promises. Could it now be time to wish for the like button for the video? Chapter 1418. Can do it as well. Wang Lin frowned. The words of the first generation vermilion bird echoed in his mind, causing him to become silent. The 5 void-shattering fingers is a process to gather the power to break the void. Only by cultivating to the limit of the second step can you borrow the power of your essence to break the void gate in one fell swoop. Your cultivation is too chaotic. First of all, your ancient god body. Ancient god, I didn't expect a member of my vermilion bird clan to become an ancient god. There was a strange light in the first generation vermilion bird's eyes as he looked at the blood sword before him. This old man doesn't know much about ancient god cultivation, but during my time, the ancient god's power was heaven-shaking. Back then, although the ancient order Xianxia wasn't as strong as the ancient celestial sovereign, the ancient celestial sovereign still dreaded him. Ancient order. Wang Lin was startled as he looked at the first generation vermilion bird. Due to my promise from back then, I can't tell you any more, so don't ask me again. If you have the opportunity, you will find the answer that is lost in time. The expression of the first generation vermilion bird seemed crestfallen. If you were to only cultivate the ancient god body and use your power as Tao, it would be easier to open the void gate. However, essences have appeared inside your body, and it is a shocking 5 essences. Therefore, if you want to enter the third step, it will be even more difficult. The more essences you have, the more difficult it becomes, unless you give up your essences and enter the third step as an ancient god. Or you can give up your ancient god body and 4 essences to enter the third step with 1 complete essence. Wang Lin silently pondered. The third step requires the completion of an essence. Then, with the help of Joss flames and devouring a Tao spirit, there is a chance to enter the third step. However, I can find any Joss flame aura from you. You walk a very difficult path, one completely different from that of the second and fourth generations. So I can help you, however. Right now you have a choice, and I want you to think about it carefully. Wang Lin looked at the first-generation vermilion bird and calmly said, "What choice? Give up your ancient god body. Abandon your seemingly complete but still flawed thunder essence. And also give up all your essences except for your fire essence. Stay in the heaven trial, and this old man will help you reach the third step within 100 years. From then on, you will only have one essence, the fire of the vermilion bird. Once you have reached the third step, this old man will teach you the vermilion bird endless flame. You will cultivate in peace here with the second and fourth generation vermilion birds and wait until this old man breaks the seal. Then this old man will take the three of you and leave this place." The first generation vermilion bird said slowly. "Leave this place?" Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He felt like there was some hidden meaning behind these words. "Leave this place." The first generation vermilion bird's eyes revealed reminiscence as he softly said, "To go back to the world I came from." Wang Lin's mint trembled and he was about to speak. "Don't ask, I can say. If I speak, I'll die. They want to fight, they want to steal, but this old man is tired. I am unwilling to participate, I just want to go home." The first generation vermilion bird sounded tired. "I'll give you time to think. I hope you consider it carefully." The first generation vermilion bird let out a sigh. Wang Lin's breath became a bit rough and he struggled. The words of the first generation vermilion bird was very tempting, even more tempting than Tao Master Blue Dream's offer. Tao Master Blue Dream was not of the vermilion bird clan. In his heart, Wang Lin was leaning more toward the first-generation vermilion bird. Wang Lin hesitated and asked, "If I give up my ancient god body and my other essences, once I reach third step, can I recultivate my essences?" "Of course you can. Third step cultivators also cultivate essences, and the more essences, the deeper their comprehension. Their cultivation level also increases this way. However, the new essence will never reach true completion and will stop at the third step. This path poses no danger to you. It is a peaceful path that will allow you to keep your obsession." This old man has also faced the flame of obsession and knows how important it is to people like us. The first generation vermilion bird looked at Wang Lin as if he was looking at himself and let out a sigh. Wang Lin's mind trembled and his breathing became even more rough. Before him, the choice began to tilt. There was a voice filled with 2,000 years of exhaustion in his heart. With the possibility of a quiet life, there was a hint of excitement in the voice that continued to whisper to him. "Stay here. Stay here. You don't have to experience the bloodbath. You don't have to worry about life and death. Stay here, reach the third step in 100 years, even if it means giving up the other essences and the ancient god body. After reaching the third step, they can be recultivated even if they can become complete. Reaching the third step is worth it, even if it means not being able to move forward anymore. Stay here. Are you not tired of 2,000 years of cultivation? Walking the line of life and death over and over again, are you still not afraid? Stay here, stay here." Wang Lin's struggle became even stronger, and his breathing became anxious. This short period of time was like thousands of years for him. After a long time, Wang Lin suddenly looked up at the first-generation vermilion bird. His voice was slightly hoarse as he said, "Can the ancestor only take the three of us? Can I bring a few more people? Junior has some friends I can leave behind." The first-generation vermilion bird pondered, and a moment later, his voice echoed in the world. "Taking the three of you is my limit. Forget it. When the day to leave comes, this old man can give you one more spot. If any more people come, I fear I won't be able to make it back." One spot Li Muan appeared in Wang Lin's eyes, then Situnan, Qing Shui, and Zhou appeared. Li Chamei appeared, the figures that he had encountered over his 2,000 years of cultivation that caused him to struggle with this decision appeared. "Now tell me, what is your choice?" The first-generation vermilion bird's words entered Wang Lin's mind. A monstrous wave was set off in Wang Lin's heart. This choice made him struggle and hesitate. A moment later, Wang Lin's right hand reached at the void, and a rift to his storage space appeared. A coffin slowly floated out, and Li Muan was calmly sleeping inside the coffin. "Can Senior resurrect her?" Wang Lin looked up with bloodshot eyes. The struggle of making this choice was like a vicious battle for him. A long sigh echoed across the world, and the first-generation vermilion bird's words echoed. "This old man saw the coffin when you opened your storage space earlier. This woman must be your obsession. This coffin was refined by a junior, because I have never seen it before. But I can feel the effect of this coffin. This woman's lifespan ended, and her nascent soul was then injured. She died, then you put the nascent soul inside the coffin to reform her flesh, but her soul had already collapsed. Wang Lin's body trembled as he stared at Li Mowan inside the coffin. This coffin is very strange. It allows a collapsed soul to not dissipate for a while. If you can find the correct method of control, you can find the shattered pieces of her soul one by one, but even if you can find all of her soul, this old man can resurrect her. Wang Lin's heart was filled with despair and his gaze became dim. He stared at the coffin as if his heart had been torn apart, and pain filled his body. The first-generation vermilion bird pondered a bit and slowly said, however, if this old man can do it, that doesn't mean others can in my hometown. There are 3 people that can mend her soul and resurrect her. It's just all 3 of them have extremely high statuses, and this old man can get them to help. However, you can rest assured, I'll do my best. Wang Lin didn't look up, and he slowly withdrew his gaze from the coffin. His right hand touched the coffin, and he put it back inside his storage space. The 3 people ancestor talked about are too far away from Junior. The 3 are able to do it presumably due to their unfathomable cultivation. Wang Lin raised his hand and looked at the first-generation vermilion bird's statue. Although his eyes were still bloodshot, they no longer contained any struggle. Instead, they were filled with clarity and determination. Junior also wants to live peacefully. I am tired of the constant life and death situations and the schemes of the cultivation world. I would very much like to stay here until I am old, even if it means my cultivation would stop at the 3rd step. So what? Wang Lin's eyes became bright, and he continued, it's just that Junior can do it. Asking others for help is too unreliable. And I don't like having someone else controlling my fate. I might as well not ask for their help. Since they can cultivate to that degree, Wang Lin can do it as well. Although these words were not loud, but after he spoke them, it was as if an indescribable force had surged into his body, giving him a shocking presence. Their words seemed to echo inside this world. Even the first-generation vermilion bird's eyes narrowed. I can give up my ancient god body. I can give up my other 4 essences. Even if this path is difficult, I have to continue down it. I can allow my cultivation to stop. Wang Lin bowed at the first-generation vermilion bird before stepping into the air. Junior appreciates the old ancestor's good will, whether it is the 5 heaven-s blights or the 5 void-shattering fingers. They are all things comprehended by cultivators as required steps to break the void gate. Then why can Junior find my own way, a method unique to me? Ancestor said that I need 5 fingers to cover the sky, but Junior doesn't want to go through the 5 heaven-s blights. My ancient god body is Junior's palm, and my 5 essences are my fingers. 5 heaven-s blights, 5 void-shattering fingers, 5 essences, they have different names, but their meanings are the same. I've completed 1 essence, which is the same as the first heaven-s blight. Once my 5 essences are complete, I'll be the same as a peak 5th heaven-s blight cultivator. I'll break open the void gate and form my own path. 1. We don't understand exactly what the author is saying in this chapter regarding the essences and staying at the 3rd step. We don't know if he would be stuck at the 3rd step with his fire essence, or if he could continue cultivating the fire essence, but the other essences in the ancient god body would be stuck at the 3rd step. At 36, Leo is still getting wisdom teeth, in pain for many days, with swollen jaws, frustrated, and they're not even breaking through yet. Counting them, there are 3 or 4 wisdom teeth not yet emerged. Chapter 1419. Come! Wang Lin floated in the air and clasped his hands at the statue of the first-generation vermilion bird. He then waved his right hand and the blood sword let out a sword hymn before flying back to Wang Lin. His words revealed his determination. When the first-generation vermilion bird heard this, he silently pondered. Wang Lin looked at the sky. Fire burned in his left eye and thunder flashed in his right eye. They seemed to support the entire world as he stood there as his voice echoed. Since I can rely on others to resurrect Wan Er, then I can only rely on my own strength. Since the old ancestor can take my friends away, then I'll stay here and break through heaven on my own. I'll take my friends and ascend with them. His mighty words echoed across the world like rolling thunder. If leaving this world was like becoming a celestial, then Wang Lin's words meant not only that was he going to become a celestial, but he was going to make all his friends celestials too. After pondering for a bit, the first-generation vermilion bird let out a sigh. Perhaps you were right, forget it. You passed the heaven trial. I know you left a drop of vermilion bird blood on an abandoned planet and lured the Fire Sparrow clan to take it. Your purpose should be the fire essence in. The Fire Sparrow clan, your vermilion bird has awakened 4 times, and you've given birth to ethereal fire. If you can devour the fire essence left by the traitorous third vermilion bird, your fire essence will increase greatly. Although the traitorous third vermilion bird was a fake, he was the most talented person I've ever seen. Although he was seriously injured by me, his cultivation was powerful and his mind cunning. He must have left himself a few safety measures to protect himself. This old man also suspects that he has another identity in the ancient star system. However, I am unable to leave this place, so I can invesigate this matter. If you have plans for the Fire Sparrow clan, you need to be careful of the traitorous third vermilion bird. He might be in closed-door cultivation in the Holy Land of the Fire Sparrow clan, if he is really there. Then I'll give you this item condensed from my vermilion bird, Endless Fire. With it, even if you meet the traitorous third vermilion bird, you can keep your life if I am wrong, then take this as a weapon to protect yourself. As the first-generation vermilion bird spoke, the 9-colored fire between his eyebrows flashed. It condensed into a 9-colored feather that slowly flew at Wang Lin. The traitorous third vermilion bird has a treasure of my vermilion bird clan, but he doesn't know the method to control it. I'll teach it to you, and if you have the power to take it back, I'll gift that treasure to you. The moment Wang Lin caught the 9-colored feather, a complex chant was engraved into his soul. Try to keep the members of the Fire Sparrow clan alive, as they have great use to me. I'll help you make that vermilion bird blood you left on the abandoned planet more real. No one but the third-generation vermilion bird would see through it. You can leave. The first-generation vermilion bird's voice gradually became more faint until eventually it disappeared. The statue lost its vitality and seemed to turn into a dead object. Wang Lin looked at the statue of the first-generation vermilion bird, and after a moment, he bowed deeply. Then he turned around and disappeared. On the great Emperor planet, the heaven incense stick seemed like it would burn forever without end. Time slowly passed. One breath that had been a total of 23 breaths now. Although Wang Lin's conversion with the first-generation vermilion bird was long, thanks to the interference of the first-generation vermilion bird, it was merely a few breaths of time outside. 24th breath. 25th breath. The surrounding cultivators were all filled with shock. Master Simo frowned, and there was a flash of hostility on his face. Grandmaster Yun Luo's right hand formed seals so fast that her hand formed after midges as she calmly stared at Wang Lin. Only the old vermilion bird had a gloomy expression. He vaguely guessed the purpose of the ancestor, that this trial was a test of identity. 26th breath. 27th breath. 27 breaths. This third young emperor was able to make the heaven incense stick last this long. Look at his body. It just looked like he was facing a life and death crisis, but now he is calmed down. The surrounding cultivators began to debate. Every breath that passed caused their minds to be shaken even more. Just at this moment, the fire from the heaven incense stick became monstrous and covered almost half the sky. The monstrous fire charged at the small remaining part of the heaven incense stick. In just an instant, the remaining heaven incense stick had been burned clean. This sudden change attracted the attention of all the surrounding cultivators. Even the old vermilion bird's eyes lit up, and he looked closely. Although it sounds slow, it happened in an instant. The heaven incense stick was rapidly shrinking, and the fire was about to reach Wang Lin's body. At this moment, Wang Lin's soul still hadn't returned. If he didn't return before the incense stick was burned clean, then even if he passed the trial, he would have failed in the eyes of the surrounding cultivators. All of this happened in a flash. The sudden increase in the burning rate of the heaven incense stick was like an invisible force that attracted everyone's attention. Under their gazes, the fire from the heaven incense stick quickly descended and devoured Wang Lin. The heaven incense stick had completely burned out. He didn't come out. The third young emperor's soul didn't come out. Did he fail? I told you this trial was extremely difficult and he wouldn't succeed. So what if his cultivation is monstrous? He still failed in this trial. I want to see how the first young emperor will save him. The surrounding cultivators went into an uproar. Master Simo took a deep breath and joy appeared in his eyes. However, the moment the joy appeared, it drained away and was replaced with endless gloom. Grandmaster Yun Luo's right hand was a bloody mess once more as she was interrupted once more. This time she wasn't interrupted by a strange force, but by an indifferent gaze coming from the burning incense stick. The gaze was like fire and thunder, and the moment it appeared, it caused the world to rumble. A black shadow gradually walked out of the burning stick and appeared before all the cultivators present. Wang Lin walked out with a gloomy expression. The moment the heaven incense stick burned out, his soul returned to his body. Once he was back in his body, this fire was nothing to him. Under the shocked gazes of all the surrounding cultivators, Wang Lin waved his right hand and the fire behind him moved with him. It turned into a river of fire that wrapped around his right hand. Wang Lin clenched his fist and the river of fire collapsed, sending fire scattering in all directions. The scattering bits of fire were like fireflies with Wang Lin at the center. The 9-colored fire rotated rapidly in Wang Lin's left eye and turned into ethereal fire. In his right eye, the thunder tattoo had 9 accompanying thunders rotating around it. His clothes fluttered and his hair moved without wind. His gaze swept past all the surrounding cultivators. At this moment, Wang Lin was like a celestial and a demon fused into one. An indescribable aura surged out from him, and all the injuries on his body healed. At the same time, an endless fire burned in his soul as endless power condensed his body. All the cultivators that met his gaze felt their minds tremble, and huge waves were set off in their minds. They felt as if a fire was burning inside them, and the stronger their emotions became, the more powerful the fire became. In an instant, the fire was strong enough to burn them to ashes. What was even more shocking was that once you were swept by Wang Lin's gaze, your mind and soul seemed to no longer belong to you. At this moment, you would feel as if the world was occupied by a giant thunder tattoo with 9 different thunders around it trying to destroy your soul. This feeling only lasted for an instant for most cultivators when Wang Lin's gaze swept by them. However, it was unforgettable, and that feeling of terror was something they could never forget. Wang Lin was about to display his might. Just one sweep of his gaze had caused the hearts of the surrounding 10,000 cultivators to tremble. Panic appeared in their eyes and they all lowered their heads. They actually didn't dare to look at Wang Lin. In particular, those who were disrespectful to Wang Lin and had talked behind his back turned deathly pale. They clearly felt that as soon as Wang Lin willed it, their bodies would be burned to nothing and their origin souls would turn to ashes. Wang Lin's gaze swept past these cultivators one by one. No matter what cultivation level they were at, Wang Lin could see the ethereal fire coming from them. The more their emotions fluctuated, the more intense the fire became. A powerful feeling appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. A hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes as he waved his hand, and the world rumbled. Ethereal fire appeared in the bodies of all the surrounding cultivators. This fire gave off intense heat, and fear appeared in their eyes. In an instant, the ethereal fire that had ignited within the 10,000 cultivators rushed out of their bodies and gathered toward Wang Lin, who was still on the back of the giant tortoise. This scene was extremely shocking. The monstrous ethereal fire was like smoke, and it turned into a huge vortex and was absorbed by Wang Lin. The fire surrounded him and formed a monstrous firestorm. This storm rotated rapidly and formed violent gusts of wind. The surrounding cultivators were all blown back 10,000 feet by this gust of wind. This is gathering of external ethereal fire. The old vermilion bird's eyes widened and he was filled with shock. Grandmaster Yun Luo's face was pale and her mind trembled. At this moment, if Wang Lin had a bead and a needle floating before him, then he would look exactly the same as the figure she had seen. Wang Lin's body floated up inside the storm of ethereal fire. He looked down past Yun Luo and directly at the gloomy Master Simo. Master Simo, didn't you want to kill me? I'll give you the chance, come. Wang Lin stretched out his right hand and taunted Master Simo. Leo has caught a cold, his nose running like a leaky faucet, making it unlikely he'll make it home tomorrow. Trying hard to ensure a new update, but lacking the energy, longing for the like button for the video. Chapter 1420. Battle! Challenge. To launch a challenge at a third-step cultivator. Since ancient times, third-step cultivators were like gods to second-step cultivators. Such people were almost invincible, unless it was a battle between third-step cultivators, but it would be impossible for them to lose to second-step cultivators. This was like a law. Not only had it existed for eternity in this world, but it was imprinted in the minds of all the cultivators. Third-step cultivators were invincible. All cultivators were like ants before third-step cultivators. Even though Master Simo had been humiliated by the old vermilion bird, the fact was that anywhere else, whether it was in the outer realm or the inner realm, he would merely have to stomp his foot to cause a great disaster. Even though he was only at the early stage of Nirvana Void, he was still a god to second-step cultivators. However, right now, unbelievable words that surprised all the cultivators here had echoed like thunder across the great Emperor planet. He dared to challenge a third-step cultivator. Although the third young emperor is powerful, there is still a big gap between him and a legendary third-step cultivator. To challenge him now is really stupid. This person has just experienced a trial, so he must be injured, yet he wants to boastfully challenge a third-step cultivator. Simply ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't think so. Although his cultivation can compare to a third-step cultivator, the shock from the trials has brought his momentum to its peak. If he doesn't battle now, he would be wasting this opportunity. Third-step cultivators is not someone people like us can challenge. I say Master Simo only needs one spell to teach this third young emperor the consequences of being arrogant. I admire the third young emperor for doing this. Whether he succeeds or not doesn't matter. How many people would dare to be like him? All of you here talk with disdain. But how many of you would dare to go up and challenge him like the third young emperor? The 10,000 cultivators were talking behind Wang Lin's back at the start, but after the trials, a portion of them now spoke of Wang Lin with respect. Wang Lin's words, especially his last word, come, revealed his great confidence. Grandmaster Yun Luo was also shocked. She didn't think Wang Lin would dare to challenge Master Simo. At this moment, the Wang Lin before her was rapidly interchanging with the terrifying figure. She felt like she had entered a trance and almost couldn't tell them apart. The old vermilion bird revealed a smug smile. This was what he wanted. He wanted his junior to do something that everyone thought impossible. Although third-step cultivators are strong, I didn't throw those few slaps for nothing. The old vermilion bird looked at Master Simo. Master Simo looked at Wang Lin, and his eyes suddenly turned clear. There was no joy or sorrow within them, and coldness filled his body. At this moment, he looked like a different person from before. A powerful sense of majesty slowly spread out from his body and caused the world to distort. As the world twisted, countless illusory souls seemed to appear. Every single soul looked mournful, and bursts of silent cries echoed across the great Emperor planet. Do you think you can challenge a third-step cultivator just because you won against my avatar? Since you want to die, then this old man will comply with your wish. Master Simo looked calm. He took a step forward and moved like a ray of light toward Wang Lin. The surrounding cultivators all stared at this scene, and their breathing seemed to stop. An indescribable sense of excitement began to fill the minds of all the surrounding cultivators. A third-step cultivator was going to act. Such a battle was a once-in-a-lifetime situation. It was very rare to see something like this, so how could they not be excited? Heaven-breaking 9 extinctions. Master Simo's voice was calm, and it echoed across the world. In a flash, he was within 1,000 feet of Wang Lin. There was no killing intent or coldness in his eyes as he waved his right hand. First extinction, heaven! With his wave, the sky rumbled and countless spatial cracks appeared. It seemed like the sky was being ripped open by force. These hideous scars shot straight at Wang Lin. The sky distorted, and even more spatial cracks appeared. Second extinction, Earth, Master Simo said. The earth rumbled and the surrounding cultivators retreated in terror. The entire earth around the giant tortoise trembled as if it was moving. Mountains piercing the sky suddenly arose from the earth, and they all shot toward Wang Lin. At this moment, the sky distorted, while the spatial cracks came toward Wang Lin. The earth trembled and countless mountains shot toward him. Third extinction, life. There was a flash in Master Simo's calm eyes. He waved his right hand, and a cold gust of wind appeared from the void. It blew toward Wang Lin. This cold wind was very similar to Wang Lin's Call the Wind. It could blow out the fire of life. All of this happened in a flash. As soon as Master Simo started his attack, he used his most powerful spell. He had the intent of killing Wang Lin instantly. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. As the 3 extinctions closed in on him, the ethereal firestorm rotated rapidly around him. 9-color ethereal fire, in my name I order you to form the fire spirit. Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and then he waved his hand inside the ethereal firestorm. There was a loud rumble followed by the roar of dragon. A giant dragon head came out of the center of the ethereal firestorm. The dragon was red, and it let out bursts of roars as it charged at the spatial cracks in the sky. Monstrous fire quickly filled the spatial cracks in the sky. This made the sky look extremely fierce. At this moment, another dragon head came out of the firestorm. This time, it was an orange dragon, and it roared as it charged at the mountains coming from below. This dragon was 10,000 feet long, and the mountains began to burn before it. Shortly after, roars continued to echo as the 3rd, 4th, 5th until 9 fire dragons had appeared. These 7 dragons charged out, and the firestorm dissipated. Wang Lin simply stood there. Adding the 2 from before, there were now 9 fire dragons coiled around him. Those plus the 9-colored fire rotating in his left eye amounted to a shocking scene. A powerful aura erupted from Wang Lin's body. The 10,000 cultivators that had retreated were all shocked. Wang Lin's figure was deeply imprinted in their minds. They wouldn't be able to forget it in their lifetimes. 4th extinction, death. 5th extinction, time. 6th extinction, void. 7th extinction, desolation. 8th extinction, reincarnation. 9th extinction, heaven breaking. Master Simo's expression was still the same, without any killing intent or anger. His mind remained calm. The first thing one had to do when battling someone with ethereal fire was guard their mind. If his mind became a mess, his emotions would fluctuate, and then his enemy could ignite the ethereal fire. Master Simo had stepped forward every time he spoke, walking step by step toward Wang Lin. Every word he had said caused illusions to appear before him. The first one to appear was an illusory graveyard. It was like a bag that quickly filled the world. The various tombs caused a monstrous death aura to appear. Shortly after, the power of time formed light under Master Simo's feet. It was as if time was rapidly changing as he walked forward. Then a vague void shrouded him. The endless tomb in his body were surrounded by this void. It made it so others couldn't see him clearly. Inside that blur lay an ancient aura that turned into the aura of reincarnation. He closed in on Wang Lin, and in an instant he was 100 feet away from Wang Lin. When he said the last 2 words, heaven breaking, he was 3 feet from Wang Lin. He raised his right hand and mercilessly slammed down. Heaven breaking 9 extinctions, 9 steps to extinguish heaven. The world trembled. The moment Master Simo's palm descended, all the illusions behind him collapsed into countless fragments. These fragments turned into rivers that flowed into Master Simo's right palm, and the palm closed in. All of this happened in a flash. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his right hand formed a sword and suddenly pointed forward. The 9 dragons around him let out roars, then they fused with his finger and he pointed at Master Simo. From afar, this looked like a shocking scene. Master Simo's palm had the power to break the heavens. By borrowing the momentum of the 9 extinctions and adding on his 3rd step cultivation, that palm could break all living things. Wang Lin's finger had 9 dragon heads tangled together. It looked like Wang Lin's fingers had become the dragon's body. The 9 dragons roared and were surrounded by fire. In a flash, Wang Lin's finger and Master Simo's palm collided. This was an encounter with the heaven-breaking power and ethereal fire. It was a collision of law. Rumble, 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 rumble. Intense rumbles echoed across the entire great Emperor planet like crazy. Almost all the 10,000 cultivators coughed out blood and their ears buzzed. They all anxiously retreated. As the rumbles echoed, Wang Lin's body rapidly retreated. He retreated a few hundred feet, and his face revealed a strange red. He looked up with a cold gaze. 3rd step cultivators are indeed amazing. Master Simo's palm trembled, and he felt the fire rebound at him. His blow that could break the heavens couldn't extinguish this fire. The calmness in his eyes dissipated, and there was a moment of shock. However, the moment that sliver of shock appeared, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He pointed at Master Simo. Ethereal fire rise. Leo has a cold, with a sore throat and a bit of dizziness, not daring to promise if there will be a 3rd watch today, doing his utmost to get through. Chapter 1421. Joss Flame Worship. Ethereal fire was not one of the 5 elements of the world. At the peak of corporeal fire, there was a chance to break the void and transform it into the ethereal fire that could extinguish everything. All emotions were fuel for ethereal fire, so one's emotions couldn't fluctuate when battling someone with ethereal fire. As a third-step cultivator, not only was Master Simo's cultivation powerful, he had full control of his emotions. If he didn't want to be angry, he would not be angry. If he didn't want emotions to appear, he could make all his emotions like still water. However, there was a trace of shock within Master Simo. There was a hint of emotional fluctuation. This was originally impossible, but it had happened. Master Simo didn't have time to ponder why it had happened. The moment he felt shock, ethereal fire erupted from his body and burned around him in the blink of an eye. This monstrous ethereal fire caused his expression to change. His change in expression caused his emotions to fluctuate once more. This caused the ethereal fire to burn even more violently. The old vermilion bird looked at this and revealed an almost undetectable sneer. Those few slaps weren't just to teach you a lesson, but to also plant the ethereal fire seed inside your body. Otherwise, it would be too difficult for him to battle a third-step cultivator. Little fellow, whether you can capitalize on this opportunity will depend on you. Wang Lin had been thought countless life and death situations, so he simply wouldn't miss any opportunity. Seeing the ethereal fire rage, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Suppressing his injuries from earlier, Wang Lin's hands formed a seal, and he pointed forward. Wang Lin's expression was ferocious, and he pointed the 9-colored fire in his left eye. It turned into ethereal fire and shot at Master Simo. There is not enough ethereal fire. Heavenly ethereal fire, gather from me. Wang Lin stepped forward and waved his sleeves. A gust of wind swept toward the cultivators watching this battle. This wind contained a high temperature. When it swept by, more ethereal fire was born due to their fluctuating emotions. This ethereal fire didn't burn them, but it immediately formed an ethereal fire dragon inside each of their bodies. In a flash, these fire dragons rushed out from the bodies of the cultivators. A total of 36,794 ethereal fire dragons appeared in the world. From afar, this scene looked extremely shocking. At this moment, it was as if Wang Lin wasn't battling Master Simo by himself. He had gathered the emotions of everyone here to battle Master Simo. In the cultivation world, no one could do this with the power of fire beside Wang Lin. Not the 4th-generation vermilion bird, or even the 2nd-generation vermilion bird. Although their ethereal fire was strong, there was a limit. They could only release but not absorb. However, Wang Lin's ethereal fire contained the magnetic force from the heaven-defying bead. After absorbing the ethereal fire, the world rumbled. Wang Lin waved his sleeves, and the countless ethereal fire dragons charged at Master Simo. With the 9 ethereal fire dragons leading the way, countless more followed them. They formed a heaven-shaking ethereal firestorm. All of this happened in a flash. The moment the ethereal fire ignited in Master Simo, the ethereal firestorm charged into Master Simo's body. Master Simo's face immediately turned pale, and he quickly retreated. There was terror in his eyes, but he quickly suppressed his emotions. A bit more. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He rushed forward and he shouted, "Master Simo, do you still remember the heaven-breaking sect?" The retreating Master Simo's body trembled. There was struggle in his eyes, but he suppressed his emotions. "Master Simo, do you still remember your 2nd brother, 3rd brother, and the 16 brothers you kicked out of the cave?" Master Simo's face turned deathly pale and his body swayed. "Master Simo, do you recognize this?" Wang Lin opened his storage space and took out a jade. This jade was Sima Mo's identity jade from the heaven-breaking sect. The struggle in Master Simo's eyes became even stronger, as if it was about to collapse. "Master Simo, do you recognize this?" Wang Lin waved his hand and something appeared in his grasp. It was a palm-sized beast bone. This beast bone was the reason why Sima Mo had been kicked out of the heaven-breaking sect. Master Simo's face was pale and his eyes were bloodshot. His face revealed a ferocious expression as he roared at Wang Lin, "Shut up! Should I call you Master Simo or Sima Mo?" Wang Lin's last words was like a bolt of thunder, and the ethereal fire surged through Master Simo's body. The fire burned brightly and popping sounds came from inside Master Simo's body. A sense of madness appeared in Master Simo's eyes. He stopped retreating and allowed the ethereal fire to burn him. 7-colored light began to shine from his body, but the color purple almost completely suppressed the other 6 colors. This old man isn't Sima Mo, my Taoist name is Master Simo. Master Simo was being burned by the ethereal fire inside his body, and he coughed out blood. The moment the blood appeared, it was burned to ashes. He stared at Wang Lin with a vicious expression, and killing intent appeared inside his eyes. His right hand reached at the void, and he let out a roar. The world darkened, and a giant spatial rift appeared due to Master Simo. This rift was extremely large, and all the surrounding cultivators clearly saw that there seemed to be another world inside there. There were countless cultivation planets inside the rift, and there were countless people kneeling there. Large amounts of Joss flame came out as they worshipped. Open this old man's Joss flame realm. Disciple souls, appear. Master Simo waved his sleeve, and the countless beings on the planets began to chant. The sound fused together into sometime like a spell, and suddenly charged out of the rift. The moment this voice rushed out, the illusions of souls appeared around Master Simo. The souls appeared in mass and filled the world in the blink of an eye. At a glance, these souls were boundless, and the amount was shocking. It was impossible to count them all quickly. There were still countless more that hadn't appeared. The eyes of these souls were all filled with fervor and released Joss flames. The Joss flame spell. The Joss flame spell that is unique to third-step cultivators? All life will be destroyed by Joss flame spells. The surrounding cultivators went into an uproar as they retreated. None of them dared to remain close. The old vermilion bird's eyes lit up as he stared at Master Simo. He didn't reveal any of his thoughts. My disciples, worship me. Master Simo let out a roar, and the countless souls all bowed at Master Simo. With their bows, the world rumbled, and a Joss flame wind appeared. This wind was purple and swept toward Master Simo. The ethereal fire around him dimmed and began to extinguish. In a flash, the ethereal fire around Master Simo all extinguished. None of it remained. However, the souls became blurry, as if their bows had consumed too much of their strength. This scene was so shocking that Wang Lin's expression suddenly changed. This is the third step. A third-step cultivator like Taoist water. Even ethereal fire can be extinguished by Joss flames. Can I really not win? Wang Lin's eyes were filled with reluctance. His gaze was like lightning, and he roared in his heart. So what if he is at the third step? Just at this moment, Master Simo suddenly turned around. His eyes were cold as he stared at Wang Lin and roared. This old man's endless disciples create Joss flames for me. Without reaching the third step, you can bear the power of the Joss flames. Since you're looking for death, then I'll let you die. Joss flame disciples worship him once. This old man wants to see how you can withstand the worship of my endless disciples. Master Simo pointed at Wang Lin. With a point of his finger, the endless souls inside Master Simo's Joss flame realm turned to face Wang Lin. The amount of disciples couldn't be calculated. Even Wang Lin felt shock when faced with the endless Joss flame disciples. Joss worship. Master Simo's words echoed, and the endless Joss flame souls all bowed at Wang Lin. The power of one bow formed a purple wind that swept toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin felt an unknown force come from all directions, and as it squeezed his body, he felt intense pain. A tearing force came from his body, wanting to tear him apart. Wang Lin's expression changed. He had nowhere to escape to, because the power came from the world itself. I want to see how you will withstand the worship of my Joss flame disciples. To dare to challenge me before reaching the third step, arrogant. Master Simo's eyes were completely purple and emitted flashes of purple light. However, although he was shrouded in purple light, there was a faint fire the size of a fingernail between his eyebrows. Wang Lin suddenly saw a small person sitting inside the fire. This small person looked exactly the same as Master Simo, and 2 streams of tears were flowing out of its eyes. Save me the moment the purple wind arrived. Wang Lin seemed to hear a faint voice coming from the fire between Master Simo's eyebrows. Master Simo has so many Joss flame disciples. The expression of the old vermilion bird changed, and he was about to charge forward to help. However, just as he took a step, Wang Lin's voice echoed across the world. Ancestor Jr. can do this. Leo goes to the hospital with his wife, then directly to pick up his daughter from school, continuing the storytelling upon return. Chapter 1422. Seal the Joss flame realm. Master Simo's expression was gloomy. Although his words contained killing intent, he wouldn't dare to actually kill Wang Lin before the old vermilion bird. If he did such a thing, he would face death. If he didn't kill Wang Lin, the old vermilion bird couldn't made it too hard on him. After all, he had the Sovereign Council and the Sovereign standing behind him. He had used Joss Flame worship with the intent to seriously injure Wang Lin and force Wang Lin to retreat. Therefore, no one could say anything, and he could leave safely. The power of the countless souls worship turned into a purple wind that charged at Wang Lin from all directions. At a glance, it looked like the entire world had been dyed purple. This Joss Flame spell was heaven-shaking and was powerful enough to destroy a fifth heaven-esque-like cultivator. However, Wang Lin's thunder essence was complete, and his fire essence had reached ethereal fire. He had also battled against Taoist water, so although he was facing this crisis, he felt no fear. Instead, battle intent filled his eyes. To be more precise, this was the first time Wang Lin had battled a third-step cultivator. When he faced Taoist water, he could only defend and not attack. However, his cultivation level had increased rapidly during his time in the ancient star system. Before, he could only defend himself, but now he could put up a fight. Seeing the purple wind close in, thunder flashed from Wang Lin's right eye. He took a step forward and waved his right hand. Ancient Thunder Realm, open! The world rumbled. Another huge rift appeared in the sky covered by the purple wind. This rift was 10,000 feet wide and seemed to have ripped the purple apart to appear before Wang Lin. Thunderous rumbles echoed inside the rift, and it gave off an ancient aura. Roars of ancient thunder dragons echoed inside. As the thunder flashed from within the rift, an ancient thunder dragon-esque giant body appeared. Endless thunder come out of the rift and raged within the purple wind. All of this happened in a flash. The moment the ancient thunder realm was opened by Wang Lin, the thunder tattoo in his right eye flew out toward the rift. At the same time, a shocking roar from the rift suppressed all the sound of thunder. The head of a giant ancient thunder dragon poked out, and it charged at the thunder tattoo. In a flash, the ancient thunder dragon fused with one of the accompanying thunders around the thunder tattoo, causing that accompanying thunder S power to increase greatly. This didn't end. In an instant, more thunder dragons appeared and quickly fused with the accompanying thunders before the purple wind arrived. The ancient thunder realm will be the source of my thunder essence, and the 9 ancient thunder dragons will empower my accompanying thunders. I summon the peak of heavenly thunder. Wang Lin's voice echoed across the world. His long hair fluttered, and he pointed forward. Wang Lin's most powerful spell, beside his fire essence, was his thunder essence. After devouring the Scatter Thunder Clan's Eternal Thunderbolt and soul-searching the Head Elder, Wang Lin's thunder spells had reached a peak. If this wasn't so, how could he have caused the Void Gate to appear with just this thunder essence and then pushed it open a sliver? As he pointed, the 9 accompanying thunders rotated rapidly around the thunder essence and began a battle against the incoming purple wind. From afar, one could see that the 10,000-foot rift was shaped like a bolt of thunder. The countless thunderbolts moving in and out of it made it look even more like a bolt of thunder. The 9 accompanying thunders formed a heaven-shaking thunderstorm. The purple wind turned into a purple storm that swept across the world. As the countless Joss Flame disciples bowed, it closed in. Wang Lin's thunderstorm had 9 ancient thunder dragons rotating within it, creating a powerful force. It had also gained a powerful thunder force from the ancient thunder realm. Rumble, 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 rumble. The collision of the 2 storms caused the great Emperor planet to tremble. A destructive aura spread like a giant hand wiping across the earth. The giant tortoise let out a mournful cry and suddenly collapsed. The collapse of the giant tortoise caused the arena to disintegrate. This caused the surrounding cultivators to cough out blood and threw them far away. The thunderstorm suddenly exploded and shattered into countless bolts of thunder. The 9 accompanying thunders were knocked back, and even the rift to the ancient thunder realm began to distort as if it was going to dissipate. The purple storm also trembled. A majority of it collapsed before Wang Lin's thunder essence. The surrounding Joss Flame souls were affected and began to collapse on a wide scale. It was like an invisible hand moving across the sky, wiping out all of the Joss Flame souls. Master Simo's clothes fluttered, and his eyes lit up. Under the impact of the shockwave, he waved his hand and roared, "This old man's Joss Flame souls are endless. Even if you destroy these, I have more. Joss Flame Realm disciples, appear once more. After he roared, even more souls were about to rush out from the giant rift that led to Master Simo's Joss Flame Realm. Blood flowed out from the corner of Wang Lin's mouth. His face was pale and he retreated several steps. However, as he retreated, he raised his head and revealed monstrous battle intent. He forced himself to stop retreating and charge forward like a meteor. He waved his right hand, and a withered yellow leaf appeared in his hand. The moment the leaf appeared, Wang Lin's ancient god stars appeared between his eyebrows. He opened his mouth and spat out blood. This was ancient god blood. Blood fell on the withered yellow leaf, causing it to release a red light. Wang Lin waved his hand and the red leaf shot at Master Simo. It was extremely fast and closed in an instant. It was like a violent wind and instantly grew to 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 feet large. Ancient leaf. One of the treasures Greed had obtained in the mysterious place. Even with Greed's cultivation level, when he used it, he could seal Wang Lin's path. Wang Lin couldn't break it and had to avoid it. Right now Wang Lin was using it as an ancient god after nurturing it with his ancient god blood. He was also using the proper method to control it, so its power was much more powerful than when Greed used it. One leaf to cover the sky. The ancient leaf instantly flew by Master Simo and appeared beside his Joss Flame realm. It covered up the rift. Seal for me! Seal! Seal! Wang Lin's roar echoed and the ancient leaf flashed like a sealing rune. The moment it stuck to Master Simo's Joss Flame realm, it released a powerful sealing force. Under the sealing power of the ancient leaf, the Joss Flame realm trembled, and not a single soul was able to rush out. This sudden change shocked Master Simo and fear appeared in his eyes. He had never heard of a treasure that could seal the Joss Flame realm of a third-step cultivator. What kind of treasure is this? Not only Master Simo was shocked, but even the pupils of the old vermilion bird shrank. His eyes were filled with disbelief. That little fellow had a treasure like this. Grandmaster Yunluo's face became even more pale and the fear in her eyes couldn't be hidden anymore. Her mind trembled and she retreated a few steps. She clearly remembered an image where the figure waved his hand and 99 of these leaves appeared to seal the ancient star system. They completely sealed an extremely powerful heavenly Tao spell launched by many ancient star system cultivators. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot. After using the ancient leaf to seal Master Simo's Joss Flame realm, he didn't retreat, but instead charged at Master Simo. Wang Lin arrived within 1,000 feet of Master Simo and roared, "Ancient Devil Soul, come out!" Black fog began to appear and immediately spread out. It turned into a small person the same size as Wang Lin. It was the Ancient Devil Soul. The moment this little person appeared, he let out a sharp roar at the sky. Devilish energy surrounded him and an ethereal lance suddenly appeared. Then the little person warped around the lance and shot at Master Simo. There was a flash of coldness in Master Simo's eyes, but as his killing intent rose, the ethereal fire inside him burned once more. He ignored the ethereal fire and took a step forward. Then he waved his right hand and purple light shined brightly. This old man has achieved great merits for the sovereign, and was gifted the purple Tao from the 7-colored Tao. It is the source of madness, and as long as your treasure has a spirit, it will go crazy under the effects of my purple Tao. Master Simo's right hand seemed to grab all the purple in the world and then he waved his hand. Thunderous rumbles echoed and the purple fog closed in on Wang Lin's Ancient Devil Soul. The Ancient Devil Soul revealed excitement and screamed in excitement. Before the purple fog even got close, it rushed up. It opened his mouth and inhaled. The excitement in its eyes became even stronger. The ancient devil as the most powerful devil in the world, so how could it be afraid of madness? The more madness there was, the stronger the devilish nature. After devouring some of the purple mist, its eyes turned red. It then pierced through the purple fog and shot at Master Simo. Leo steps out without his laptop charger. The computer has no power, so he reads the chapters using his phone, typing manually. Tears are flowing. Chapter 1423, Illustrious Individual. The fog lance surrounded by the ancient devil soul was too fast and instantly closed in on Master Simo, causing his pupils to shrink. He had already expected Wang Lin to be strong, but he didn't think Wang Lin would be this powerful. This child hasn't reached the 3rd step yet, but he can already fight against me. If he breaks the void gate, I won't be his match at all. He is also aware of my past, so he is obviously from the inner realm. This person must die, unfortunately. I can kill him when we at the Great Emperor planet. Master Simo didn't retreat, and instead there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. However, the moment he revealed it, his expression changed. He then coughed out blood and retreated. Damn it, Lord Sovereign was right. All ethereal fire cultivators should die. Damn it! This ethereal fire can be dodged, and as long as there a hint of emotion, it will continue to burn. Drawing out this fight is bad for me. Master Simo waved his right hand and a white silk scroll appeared in his grasp. There was a plum flower-like bloodstain on it, and this bloodstain was extremely shocking. Master Simo threw the scroll and it began to flutter. The plum flower bloodstain turned into a red mist before Master Simo. A sigh came out from inside the mist. Wang Lin clearly saw a beautiful figure walk out of the fog. It was impossible to clearly see the face of this figure, as it was wearing a white veil. It raised its jade-like hand and pressed down at the ancient devil soul. The power of time rushed out from the woman's hand. This caused the area before her to distort, and it shrouded the ancient devil soul. All of this happened in an instant. Wang Lin stepped forward. Then he waved his right hand, and his ancient god stars started rotating rapidly. A ghostly light rapidly flashed from his first star. In a flash, a giant furnace appeared before Wang Lin. This furnace was incredibly large, and an ancient aura spread out from it. What was even more shocking was that the moment the furnace appeared, it surrounded Master Simo and the woman from the red mist. Royal Ancient God Treasure, Emperor Furnace. Master Simo's expression changed, and he looked up. He took a step and was about to take the woman from the red mist to leave the Emperor Furnace. But just at this moment, Wang Lin's eyes shined red, and he pointed at Master Simo. He roared, "Stop! Stop! Stop!" 3 stops were like 3 bolts of thunder, and Wang Lin coughed out 3 mouthfuls of blood. He looked dispirited, but the madness in his eyes became even more intense. By going beyond his limit, he was able to stop Master Simo's body for a moment. This pause gave Wang Lin a great opportunity. Royal Ancient God Treasure, activate. Wang Lin ignored his injuries and his hand formed a seal. The Emperor Furnace began to rotate and ancient aura spread out. Today I'll refine you a 3rd step cultivator. Wang Lin took a step and sat down on top of the furnace. He placed his hand on the top of the furnace, and fire rushed out from his left eye. The 9-colored fire quickly surrounded the furnace. The thunder tattoo appeared in his right eye and endless thunderbolts entered the furnace. The fire helped the thunder, and the thunder strengthened the fire as this crazy refining began. The surrounding cultivators had been knocked away, but they were unwilling to give up on observing this once-in-a-lifetime battle. This scene caused their expressions to change greatly. Refining a 3rd step cultivator. I have never heard of anyone being able to refine a 3rd step cultivator. This 3rd young emperor has such a powerful cultivation. Incredible, unbelievable. This 3rd young emperor is crazy. Does he think he is refining a pill? An uproar filled with unprecedented shock began. Forget them. Even the old vermilion bird's eyes widened. He didn't intend for Wang Lin to win against Master Simo. As long as they reached a tie with him helping out in secret, it would have been enough for Wang Lin to show off his might. To be able to fight a 3rd step cultivator to draw a 2nd step cultivator would be enough to shock the entire ancient star system. Even though it would be with him helping in secret, and he was deterring Master Simo from using any killing moves, a fact was a fact. However, Wang Lin was going to refine Master Simo. This scene caused the old vermilion bird to gasp. Good. He is indeed worthy of being my clan's junior. It doesn't matter if he succeeds or not. Just having the courage to do this means he is an illustrious individual. The old vermilion bird's eyes were filled with relief. Aside from the Joss flame realm being sealed by the ancient leaf, the only thing that remained was the Emperor Furnace. Wang Lin was sitting on top and continued to fuel the furnace with his fire and thunder essences as he began to refine. The Emperor Furnace was a royal ancient god treasure, so its power was heaven-shattering. Now that it was being controlled by Wang Lin, who was a royal ancient god, its power increased greatly. The ancient god stars between Wang Lin's eyebrows rotated rapidly and large amounts of ancient god power entered the Emperor Furnace. Master Simo was inside the Emperor Furnace. He looked at his surroundings, which were filled with chaos. His expression was extremely ugly. He had frozen for a moment and then was trapped inside his furnace due to Wang Lin's scheme. A mere furnace dares to trap me? Master Simo formed a seal and waved his hand. Purple light surrounded his body, forming two giant purple arms that slammed into the wall of the furnace. The two giant purple arms immediately hit the furnace, resulting in a thunderous rumble, and the entire furnace trembled. Wang Lin's body shook with the furnace and his eyes became cold. He spat blood onto the furnace and closed his eyes. He then activated the ancient god power inside his body like crazy and continued to refine. What kind of treasure is this? Master Simo continued to use spells inside the Emperor Furnace, but the toughness of this furnace made him extremely gloomy. As he continued to bombard from inside, an even hotter temperature began to condense inside the furnace. Along with the heat, mournful cries slowly came from all directions. Master Simo's eyes lit up, and he suddenly looked over. What he saw made his expression change greatly. He saw large amounts of illusory souls appear around him. These souls were extremely large. They were ancient demons and ancient devils. There was a large amount of them, and their mournful cries stabbed at Master Simo's mind, causing his pupils to shrink. These illusory souls surrounded Master Simo, and their mournful cries became even more intense. These souls were all lives that had been refined to death inside this furnace. The ancient devil soul that was battling the woman that came out of the red mist moved and merged with the surrounding souls. It was impossible to tell it apart from the others. The red mist shrank and the woman with the white veil silently stood next to Master Simo. It was impossible to see her appearance, but that touch of tenderness she revealed was very obvious. Master Simo withdrew his gaze and coldly looked up. He coldly said, "This little bastard has a lot of treasures, but if he thinks he can trap me, he is too arrogant." Master Simo let out a cold snort and waved his right hand. He roared 7 colored god void nails. The moment he spoke, 29 rays of 7 colored light appeared before Master Simo. The 7 colored light filled the furnace. The surrounding souls retreated as if they were extremely afraid of the 29 nails. 7 colored nails, break this furnace for me. Master Simo waved his sleeves. The 29 7-colored nails roared as they charged into the surroundings. Bang, 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 bang. A series of loud bangs echoed, and the 29 7-colored nail embedded themselves into the wall of the Emperor Furnace and mercilessly penetrated through. Outside, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. The Emperor Furnace below him rumbled and thorns bulged out from its sides. A total of 29 thorns releasing 7-colored light were attempting to break the Emperor Furnace. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes and he waved his right hand. A jade bottle appeared in his hand. Devil Soul Bottle. Holding this bottle, Wang Lin bit the tip of his tongue and spat out ancient god blood onto the bottle. He roared, "As a royal ancient god, I summon 30,000 ancient devils to help me refine." Devilish energy rushed out from the bottle. Ancient devil shadows rushed out from the bottle, and after absorbing Wang Lin's blood, they rushed into the Emperor Furnace. Inside the Emperor Furnace, Master Simo's eyes were filled with madness. His right hand reached at the void, and an object appeared in his grasp. This object was a beast bone. This bone wasn't big, only about 3 feet wide, and there was a clear palm print on it. This palm print was deeply imprinted into the beast bone, and even the print of the palm could be clearly seen. Let me show you how this old man will break this mere furnace. This beast bone was given to him by the sovereign, and the palm print was left by the sovereign. It contained the power of 1 palm from the sovereign. Looking at the beast bone in his hand, a complicated gaze arose in his eyes. His right hand rose into the air and he was about to press down on the beast bone. However, at this moment, a faint sigh came from behind him. "Sima, accompany me home, all right." Master Simo's right hand trembled and struggle appeared in his eyes. The small fire between his eyebrows shook violently. "We can give our cultivation back to him, let us go home, okay?" At this moment, outside the Emperor Furnace, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. His hand formed seals and he deeply exhaled. This invisible breath fell on the Emperor Furnace and flew away. Dao spell dream. Dao Wang Lin had created 3 spells in his life. Sundered Night, Flowing Time finally, the Dao spell he had comprehended in the Dao realm inside the heaven-defying bed. Dream Dao. Leo's speech is often puzzling. What with all the wishing for likes on the video and sharing Leo's work, leading the audience to erupt in laughter, the comments section filled with a lively atmosphere. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 1424, Dream Dao Plant's Inner Demon. Wang Lin had only created 3 spells in his 2,000 years of cultivation. Sundered Night was extremely powerful, but the law of origin was too rare. Only at the moment of daybreak could he use the spell without expending his own origin energy. Even with Wang Lin's current cultivation level, if he wanted to use Sundered Night by force, he would have to change the space and planet around him to reach the proper time of day. He had to be extremely cautious when doing this. As for flowing time, although it was inferior to Sundered Night in terms of power, the law of time was not something that could be resisted. Time was everything and invisible. It was comparable to the heavens. Wang Lin's third spell was comprehended after he was seriously injured in the battle against Taoist water. On the border of death, Wang Lin had entered the extremely mysterious Dao realm inside the heaven-defying bead. Even now, he wasn't too sure what the Dao realm was. Inside the Dao realm, 2 spells appeared inside Wang Lin's mind. The first was the spell that seriously injured the All-Seer and was the life-saving spell of an 8-star ancient god, Dream of Ancient Times. The second was the first Dao spell he had encountered, the Dao Scatter spell used by the old man in the 7-colored realm. These 2 spells were extremely powerful and were deeply engraved inside Wang Lin's memory. In the 10 years Wang Lin had spent in the Dao realm, he had comprehended the shocking power of Dream of Ancient Times and Dao Scatter. Dream of Ancient Times was an ancient god spell, so it couldn't be used like a cultivator's spell, even though Wang Lin was an ancient god. However, in Wang Lin's life, danger and fortune coexisted. The scattered Dao spell used by the old man in the 7-colored realm had opened door to Dao spells for Wang Lin. However, this spell was simply too magnificent. Normally, Wang Lin wouldn't be able to comprehend it, but borrowing the Dao realm. Wang Lin had used great perseverance and persistence to fuse the 2 into Dream Dao. Back in the Cloud Sea outside the demon sect, Wang Lin had merely tested it on the Heaven-S Blight Elder. If Wang Lin hadn't pointed it out, the Elder's Dao heart would have collapsed and died. Dream Dao, although it sounds complicated, it was actually a type of inner demon. It would turn the other party's Dao intent into an inner demon and use it to destroy their Dao heart. Even cultivators that didn't cultivate Dao had an inner demon. That inner demon was Wang Lin. Dao spells were an extremely mysterious spells. Even third-step cultivators didn't have many of them. Just having one was already very lucky. Even someone as powerful as Dao Master Blue Dream only had a few. Dream Dao could bring one back to their past. Although it couldn't scatter one's Dao like the spell of the old man in the 7-colored realm, Wang Lin could plant a fake memory. This fake memory would exist forever in their mind and become real. This was planting an inner demon. That breath of air from Wang Lin's mouth was Wang Lin's Dao essence, which entered the Emperor Furnace. Master Simo looked at the shadow behind him and was shocked. This shadow had accompanied him for tens of thousands of years and was part of his life. However, this figure had never said a single word. She should have died. It was an intense pain in his heart. The white silk scroll was something she had carried, and that blood had been coughed out by Master Simo. Due to his own grief and indignation, Master Simo's body trembled, and his expression changed when he heard those words. He was stunned on the spot and completely forgot about the beast bone in his hand. He forgot to place his palm on it. The nail-sized fire between his eyebrows shined even more violently. "Little sister, is it you talking?" Master Simo stared at the female shadow, and his vision gradually blurred. Big brother, quickly come and see. A bunch of purple orchids grew here. Big brother, don't sleep all the time. You promised to play with me today. Big brother. In the Cloud Sea Star system, on a continent in a mortal village, a 7 or 8-year-old girl was pouting as she pushed a sleeping boy next to her. "Little Lan, let me sleep a bit more. Last night I went with Little Tiger and them to steal some eggs, so I'm very tired." The boy was a bit older. After opening his eyes to mutter a few words, he went back to sleep. Time seemed to move and years passed. "Big brother, Tiger bullied me today. He secretly kissed me?" On the village patch, a teenage boy and teenage girl walked under the sunset. The teenage boy had a medicine basket behind his back. As he walked, he was yawning. The girl next to him was wearing a flower dress and looked around 13 or 14 years old. She was holding a stalk of grass in her hand, and as she spoke, she tugged at the grass. The girl stared at the boy and loudly said, "Big brother, are you listening?" I heard. Little Lan, father and mother are no longer around. Tiger's aunt has been good to us this year. Tiger isn't he a bad person, and you not young anymore. How about you marry him? The teenager boy yawned as he looked at his little sister next to him. You. How is there a brother like you? I bet like big sister Hong Hong, and you want me to marry her little brother so you can have a chance with her. I don't have a brother like you. The girl stamped her feet and looked at the boy. The boy's face turned red, and he laughed as he changed the topic to distract the girl. Not long after, the two laughed as they walked further away. Time passed once more, and youth had passed by. Big brother, big sister Hong Hong has someone she likes. The girl was now 16 and was blooming like a beautiful flower. At this moment, the young girl looked at the weak young man before her and spoke softly. The young man's body was thin. He wasn't tall, and his complexion was a bit dark, as if he was sick. However, his eyes were bright like a spark in a maiden's heart. Over the years, the young girl knew that although her big brother wouldn't say it, he had actually been very good to her. As long as she liked something, her big brother would do whatever it took to get it for her. The young man smiled. His teeth were very white and his spirit seemed a lot better. After he heard the girl's words, his right hand touched his sister's hair and he softly said, "Don't think too much, your brother isn't so fragile. Your big brother's dream is to become an immortal. After you and Tiger get married, big brother is going to seek out a sect to join." The young girl's face turned red and she whispered, "Tiger is very annoying. I already told him before that if big sister Hong Hong doesn't marry you, then I want to marry him." The young man smiled and revealed a tender gaze. He whispered, "You have grown up and will soon be a woman, so don't throw a temper like a child. Big brother's dream is really to become an immortal. I don't want to live the rest of my life in this dull place." The young man raised his head and looked at the dark sky. "My Sima Moes, life will not be ordinary, little Lan. Wait for your big brother. When I am successful, I'll come back and help you and Tiger live forever. Maybe I'll even have a few nephews by then. Ha ha." The young man looked happy. The girl looked at the young man before her. After her parents died, her big brother had become her sky, protecting her. Her eyes became red as she lowered her head and softly said, "Brother can definitely succeed. Little Lan will wait for brother to come back. Okay? When you get married, big brother will prepare a lot of dowry for you so you will get married in style." The young man's gaze toward his sister was filled with tenderness. Lively music echoed across this ordinary village a few days later. The young girl was wearing a wedding dress and lifted up the curtain of the sedan. She looked out the corner of the sedan with a hint of anxiety in her eyes. Where did big brother go? Why has he not come back? All the neighbors had rushed over for the wedding in the village, making the atmosphere very lively. There were also children playing around the sedan singing cheerful songs. The surrounding old people were all looking at this joyous event with kind smiles. No one had noticed that there were more than 10 horses approaching the village. There were more than 10 burly men with vicious expressions riding them, chatting with each other. The sounds of horses were like an earth dragon rumbling, and the vibrations spread to the distant village. Not far away stood a mountain, and this mountain was shrouded by clouds year-round. Rumor had it that there were immortals on this mountain. At this moment, there was a young man with a smug smile quickly walking down from the mountain path. He had a medicine basket behind his back containing a lot of herbs, even a ginseng. This ginseng was as big as a baby's arm. Its whiskers were extremely long and gave off a bit of spiritual energy. This king ginseng should be 100 years old. In order to get it, I spent several days of time. It should be enough to be little Lan's dowry. The young man's smile became even brighter. He was halfway down the mountain when he casually looked at the village. However, what he saw caused his body to tremble, and he remained motionless. From afar, a monstrous fire was raging inside the village. Leo holds a stuffed bear close to his chest, muttering prayers for likes on the video, sprinkling followers in his shares, as the children beside him start to crave. Chapter 142, A Body of Treasures. Wang Lin flew at a low altitude near the bottom of the sea with a flag in his hand. This was a soul flag with over 100 souls sealed inside, including the soul of Xianxia from earlier. The soul flag used to belong to Xianxia, and he didn't expect it to be his own grave. After talking with Xianxia, Wang Lin learned that everything within a 1 million-kilometer radius was considered the outer rim of the Sea of Devils. There were countless large and small sects in this area, and the fighting evil sect was one of them. The highest level cultivator of the sect was the sect head, Liu Sen, who was Xianxia's ancestor. He was at the peak of mid-stage core formation and was somewhat famous in this area. The outer rim of the Sea of Devils was very lacking in resources with very few spirit veins. There were very few nascent soul cultivators here, as many weren't willing to live in this area. Most of them lived in the middle section of the Sea of Devils. In addition to all of this, Wang Lin also learned that there weren't any spirit beast bones in the outer rim of the Sea of Devils. Those powerful spirit beasts all lived in the middle section of the, and even if one were to wander out here, it was not something the demonic cultivators that lived here could kill. But Wang Lin still managed to obtain some useful information. Within the outer rim of the Sea of Devils, there were 3 danger zones. One of the 3 danger zones, the Corpse Valley, had many beast bones. If nearby sects needed such materials, they would go there. The strange thing was that every so often, new corpses of newly dead spirit beasts would appear in the Corpse Valley. Some of these spirit beasts were very powerful when they were alive. There was actually no explanation for how they appeared there, much less how they died in the Corpse Valley. Although the Corpse Valley was mysterious, as long as one doesn't enter the central part of the valley, then generally nothing dangerous happens. As for the bone Xianxia was using to deal with his senior apprentice brother, it came from the Corpse Valley. It was made from the bones of a mysterious crow beast. After studying it for a long time, Wang Lin found that this poison only worked on Foundation establishment cultivators. The effect was drastically weaker against more powerful cultivators. Wang Lin's current destination was the Corpse Valley. He quickly flew toward the direction Xianxia pointed to. What he saw when he arrived outside the Corpse Valley were countless mountain ranges. There were tall and low mountains, and where the mountain ranges met, there were large and small valleys. This was the Corpse Valley. The fog here was very thin and didn't affect visibility at all. However, as Wang Lin entered, he felt yin energy that was very different in terms of quality to the energy outside. Wang Lin immediately formed a seal and began to chant, then slivers of light gathered before him. Eventually, they formed a ball of white light, but right after it appeared, it began to change colors until it finally settled and became blue. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. This was the technique to determine the type of yin energy in the area. Based on the color of the ball, it would tell him which of the 4 yin energies it was. There were 4 colors: purple, blue, silver, and red, which represented heaven, earth, mysterious, and death yin. Since the light was blue, then this place contained the very rare earth yin energy. Wang Lin took a deep breath and pointed forward. The ball of light immediately flew forward. Wang Lin slowly followed behind the ball of light and observed its color as he searched for beast bones. Wang Lin's divine sense found several cultivators inside the Corpse Valley, but they were all focused on looking for beast bones. Even if they were to meet, all they would do was nod at each other as they passed by. Wang Lin pondered a little. There wasn't only one Corpse Valley, but countless ones of varying sizes. There were fewer cultivators deep inside the valley, meaning there was a higher chance of finding beast bones there. After passing through the 9 valleys, there were much more remains of beasts. Some of them were terrifyingly large as they took up a majority of the valley. Wang Lin was standing on top of a giant beast corpse, but after examining it for a while, he gave up on the idea of taking it away. Although this corpse was large, there wasn't spiritual energy in the bones, meaning this wasn't a spirit beast. It just had a large body. As he got closer and closer to the center of the Corpse Valley, the deeper the color of the ball of light became. After he passed the 9th valley, he no longer saw any cultivators, and the amount of corpses increased. Wang Lin paused in the 9th valley for a while. He was very careful and had his divine sense spread out. For some reason, after he arrived at the 9th valley, he felt that it was different from the previous 8. He couldn't clearly say what was different, but he felt as if countless pairs of eyes were gathered on him the moment he entered. Wang Lin sneered in his heart as he swept the surroundings with his G-realm divine sense. The eyes on him immediately disappeared and the valley became silent again. Wang Lin pondered for a bit, then casually collected beast bones before moving to the 10th valley. When he arrived at the 13th valley, The ball of light split into two. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He knew that this meant that the quality of yin energy had broken past rank 10 normal quality and entered rank 1 good quality. Waves of yin were coming from the Tia Valley. Wang Lin felt his body stiffen. Wang Lin looked around and let out a sigh. In truth, this was the best place for him to go into closed-door cultivation. However, although this place looked calm, for it to be considered one of the 3 danger zones, it must have its dangers. Wang Lin didn't dare to go into closed-door cultivation for long no matter how good the conditions were. Before he fully understands this place, he won't stay here for long unless he absolutely has to. He hesitated for a bit. He had already collected a few beast bones. Although their quality wasn't very high, they should at least be able to increase the power of the 9 skeleton formation a bit. But he was a bit unwilling to walk away now. From his current position, he could see just how big the 14th valley was. This 14th valley was clearly different from the 13 before it. Its size was almost the same as the previous 13 combined. In addition to all of this, what was most strange about the TH Valley was that there were no corpses in sight. The entire ground was covered in shining blue frost that looked very mysterious. From a distance, Wang Lin could see that the 14th valley was indeed the center of the